Chapter 1761. Time passed quietly like water. As the sun rose from the horizon, Suyu sat quietly in the frost for the whole night. It has begun. Suyu raised his head and looked at the sky. At that moment, the sound of horns echoed in his ears. The dispute that had lasted for 2 years was finally going to come to an end with a decisive battle. The sky above the castle was filled with experts. The lowest was a bronze overlord, and the highest was a divine warrior of heaven and earth. On the corpse race's side, a total of 9 corpse kings stood side by side. Zhuji was in the middle, and Suyu was beside her. The two armies faced each other from afar. The Living Spirits Alliance discovered Suyu at the first moment, and all of them were filled with murderous intent. "Since we're all here, let's settle this once and for all," the female pavilion master said. The war drums behind him rumbled, igniting the hot blood of living beings. "The alliance of living beings' survival hinges on this," the other 2 pavilion venerables shouted at the same time. "Charge!" With a single order, the alliance of living beings dove down from the city walls with their backs to the wall. Zhuji took a deep breath. Corpse race kill. The 2 torrents collided fiercely. In an instant, corpses were tossed into the air, splashing everywhere like ocean spray. "Suyu, you traitor, I will personally take your life." The woman in the lead was the cabinet senior. She shuttled through the crowd and headed straight for Suyu. A slender palm wrapped in the power of laws slapped the female pavilion venerable's chest, startling her back. "Your opponent is me." Zhuji stood up straight. The female pavilion venerable bellowed furiously, "Then I'll kill you first." The 2 divine sovereigns of heaven and earth quickly clashed, and the power of laws splashed out, sweeping away the surrounding creatures and corpse race. The other 2 pavilion sovereigns, Sovereign Purple Dream and Sovereign Snow Dragon, were also entangled by the other corpse kings. The battle between the 2 sides quickly entered a white-hot state. There were constantly corpse race beings being exterminated, but there were also more living beings dying and immediately turning into corpse race beings, counterattacking the living beings. Thus, after half a day of stalemate, the Life Alliance fell into a situation where they were forced to retreat step by step. The female pavilion venerable panted heavily. Seeing that the situation was deteriorating, she secretly felt hatred in her heart. She could not understand why the chief pavilion master would agree to a duel where he had no chance of winning. However, the general cabinet master could not be wrong. The one who was wrong was Suyu, who had given advice to the corpse clan. "Sovereign Purple Dream, hold back the pearl," the female pavilion supreme shouted as she blasted the pearl away with her palm. The Purple Dream sovereign nodded and quickly rushed over to stop Zhuji. She was the emperor of plants and was not afraid of corpse chi. Instead, she was more difficult to deal with than the female cabinet venerable. For a moment she was on par with Zhuji. Now that she was free, the woman cabinet senior went straight to Suyu without saying a word. When the divine warriors of heaven and earth take action, it only takes a single thought. In an instant, he appeared before Suyu and slapped his palm on the top of his head. Pucci! Suyu's brain exploded, and he died on the spot. Zhuji glanced over and smiled, but she didn't rush over to help. The female pavilion senior was slightly stunned. It was too smooth. As the mastermind behind the scenes, he had no protection around him. What was even stranger was that Suyu did not resist at all. Based on her understanding of Suyu, he had many tricks up his sleeves, so he wouldn't be easily killed. Filled with suspicion, the female cabinet senior scrutinized Suyu carefully. Only then did she discover that the splattered brain of Suyu was emitting a dense corpse energy. Something's not right. The female pavilion master's heart skipped a beat. Suyu was a living creature and had not been transformed into the corpse clan. So, where did the corpse energy come from? After a closer look, she finally found something unusual. Suyu's face looked the same as his real self, but she could see the subtle traces of carving. Damn it! I've been tricked. Where is Suyu? The woman cabinet senior looked around. All she could see were the corpse clan and living creatures fighting together. Where could she find Su Yu? If someone else had disappeared, the woman cabinet senior wouldn't have cared. But Su Yu. For some reason, she had a strong sense of foreboding. Swoosh, she retreated decisively and shouted anxiously, "Everyone, be careful, Su Yu has disappeared." Upon hearing that, the two cabinet senior, the Purple Dream Sovereign and the Snow Dragon Sovereign became vigilant. It wouldn't have mattered much if others had disappeared, but Su Yu had disappeared at such a critical juncture. He was most likely playing some tricks. Even the divine warriors of heaven and earth were troubled by Su Yu's elusive schemes. They were secretly on guard. Suddenly, there was great panic in the city. The sound of crying and shouting was a mess. "Return to help!" The woman cabinet senior shouted without hesitation. Several divine warriors of heaven and earth prepared to return to the city to help. Zhuji giggled. "Corpse kings, work together to hold them back and buy time for the corpse king Su Yu." Hee okay. Several corpse kings did their best to hold them back, regardless of consumption. At the same time, under their command, the group of corpses also fought back madly, making it impossible for the Alliance of Life to get away. "Damn Su Yu! He really was tricking us!" the woman cabinet senior roared. The other cabinet senior were also extremely angry. "I knew I shouldn't have trusted Su Yu, the traitor." However, they were helpless and could only listen as the civil strife in the city gradually subsided. Without deliberately looking, they could imagine the scene in the city. The group of old, weak women and children who were left behind had most likely become food for the Corpse Clan, or had been cruelly killed by them and turned into the Corpse Clan. The woman cabinet senior was full of grief and indignation. Alliance of Life, die together with the Corpse Clan. Knowing that the city had been occupied by the Corpse Clan, and that all their relatives and friends had died, the creatures' eyes were full of determination, and they rushed forward without any regard for their lives, like moths flying into a flame, seeking their own destruction. Zhuji smiled. "Haha, such a great battle is really unexpected. Corpse Clan, listen to my order, all retreat." "What?" The Alliance of Life, which was pouncing forward like a fierce tiger, could hardly believe their ears. The ferocious Corpse Clan, which had an absolute advantage, was retreating? Walala! The black mass of the Corpse Clan retreated like a tide, and the Corpse Emperors who were entangled with the divine warriors of heaven and earth also retreated. The three Cabinet Senior, the Purple Dream Divine Warrior, and the Snow Dragon Divine Warrior were all stunned. But no matter what, since the Corpse Clan had retreated, they had a chance to breathe again. "Go back to the city to help," the woman Cabinet Senior said solemnly. There was dead silence in the city. What awaited them was no longer their former companions, but countless Corpse Clan members. A group of people flew over the city wall and looked inside with grief and indignation. However, the scene in front of them petrified them on the spot. All of the creatures were intact, but they were surrounded by the Corpse Clan and did not dare to make a sound. In the central square of the castle, Su Yu leaned lazily on the armchair and muttered, "Next." A weak creature who had lined up stepped forward and was enveloped by the corpse energy spat out by a Corpse Clan member. After a few breaths, the creature walked out of the corpse energy again, scratching its head blankly. It was unscathed. "Look, it's the same on the battlefield." Everyone looked back and saw that the Corpse Clan had brought the corpses of the creatures back, spitting corpse energy on them, and then sucking them out. The creatures who had died were resurrected and restored to their original state. The scene that had subverted their understanding and thinking stunned the Alliance of Life. What the hell was going on? The woman Cabinet Senior stared at Su Yu with murderous intent. This traitor is definitely up to no good. Let's take this opportunity to kill him. Whoosh! She arrived in front of Su Yu in an instant. Without saying a word, she slapped his head with her palm and said fiercely, "Die!" Pow! With a muffled sound, the woman Cabinet Senior was blocked by some kind of force. Yao Ji, don't be impulsive. The woman cabinet senior's eyes blurred, and a mass of black and white energies of yin and yang appeared. It was the Chief Pavilion Master. Chief Pavilion Master, why are you doing this for this traitor? Yao Ji asked anxiously. Now was the best time to kill Su Yu. The old voice said, will the traitor stay in your house and wait for you to come back and take his life? But the woman cabinet senior was in a dilemma. The Chief Pavilion Master's tone was slightly dignified. Yao Ji, when I was in seclusion, I specially asked you to take charge of the overall situation, but your performance disappointed me. You are only suitable for training, not leadership. Under the command of the Chief Pavilion Master, Yao Ji's performance was moderate. Once she took charge of the overall situation, all kinds of weaknesses were exposed. For example, she was not thoughtful and easily angered, and so on. Yao Ji was not convinced, so he shut his mouth and stared at Su Yu coldly. The Chief Pavilion Master walked onto the square with his hands behind his back, sat calmly opposite Su Yu and said, I knew you had another reason for seeking refuge with the Corpse Clan. Su Yu stood up, cupped his fists, and bowed. I am indebted to the Chief Pavilion Master's trust, so this matter could succeed. If Huang Fu Liang had not agreed to the decisive battle, how could Su Yu have succeeded in luring the tiger away from the mountain and occupied the city? The Chief Pavilion Master carefully examined the living beings, who were shrouded by the corpse energy, and his eyes shone with a shrewd light. They seemed to be missing something from their bodies. It's the fire seed. Su Yu smiled. The Chief Pavilion Master was slightly startled. What is the fire seed? This question was exactly what Su Yu wanted to explain. After 2 hours, the whole place was silent. Even the Chief Pavilion Master fell into a strange silence. The Purple Dream Divine Warrior said in disbelief, What you mean is that the Corpse Clan only wants the fire seed that we are born with, and not our lives? If that was the case, wouldn't their 30,000 years of fighting with the Corpse Clan be a joke? Su Yu pouted his lips at the living beings who had just lost their fire seed. Didn't you see it with your own eyes? The Purple Dream Divine Warrior felt that her brain was not working properly. If that's the case, why didn't the Corpse Clan discuss it with us? Why did they attack and kill us as soon as they appeared? It would be strange if we didn't resist until the end. Su Yu laughed in surprise. This was exactly the same question he had at that time. When Su Yu explained the stakes, the Purple Dream Divine Warrior laughed bitterly. I see. Without someone to mediate between us, it is indeed a dead end. Without Su Yu to mediate between them, could they trust each other? Her beautiful eyes fell on Su Yu. So, you betrayed the living beings on purpose? I did betray them. I am indebted to Zhuji, and I couldn't watch her be killed by you, Su Yu said calmly. Humph! The female pavilion master snorted coldly. Although the truth had been revealed, she did not believe Su Yu's explanation at all. That's just a one-sided statement. If that's the case, you could have just demonstrated the process of extracting the fire seed to the alliance of living beings. Why did you have to start this war? It was obviously you who had hidden evil intentions. Su Yu sneered. He didn't know if her betrayal had provoked her to make things difficult for him. Haha, if the alliance of living beings wasn't forced into a desperate situation, even if I demonstrated it 1,000 times or 10,000 times, you wouldn't believe me, Su Yu said calmly. Su Yu replied calmly, only now, when you have no way out, will you listen to my explanation calmly. But even if you are in a desperate situation, there are still stubborn people like you who doubt me, aren't there? The female pavilion master was furious. You. The Purple Dream Divine Warrior and the other 2 pavilion masters tried to dissuade her. Indeed, as Su Yu had said, if they were not in a desperate situation, who would be willing to accept the Corpse Clan extracting the fire seed? What if the Corpse Clan was deceiving them? Even if there was a slim chance of survival, they would fight back with all their might. Therefore, this great battle was the only way to force them to sit down and listen to Su Yu's explanation. Chapter 1762. The woman narrowed her eyes. That's right. This was the most suspicious. There must be another plot behind the extraction of the fire seed. Su Yu couldn't be bothered with him. Instead, he asked the General Cabinet Master, "Do you think that a barbaric civilization in the Sea of Constellations can produce a corpse tribe capable of absorbing the fire seed? What about the other civilizations?" Everyone was taken aback. Speaking of which, the corpse race wasn't born out of thin air. Instead, they rode ancient stars and passed through the void to arrive. They had never thought about whether or not the foreign civilizations had the corpse race. "You've seen him before?" the chief pavilion master asked solemnly. Su Yu nodded. "Yes, I have. They are in the Beishin Wang Cauldron, and they belong to different corpse clans." Looking around at them, Su Yu sighed and said, "So, do you understand why I must help the corpse clan absorb the fire seed in your bodies?" When the intelligent ones heard this, they immediately understood. The two pavilion venerables, the Purple Dream Sovereign and the Snow Dragon Sovereign, looked at each other. They all sighed and bowed to Su Yu. Young Master Su's breadth of mind truly makes us feel ashamed. This was especially the case for the Purple Dream Divine King, who felt even more ashamed. In the past, she had trusted Su Yu so much, but now she had doubted him. The chief pavilion master also stood up, cupped his fists and bowed. "Brother Su's breadth of mind is just as I've seen it in the past. I'm extremely impressed." Only the female cabinet venerable remained stubborn. She frowned and said, "Why are you thanking him? Is a mere junior worthy of our sovereign realm experts bowing to him? You with the surname Su, aren't you ashamed to accept it?" "Yao Ji, after this, go into seclusion for 3,000 years to temper your mind," the chief pavilion master said lightly. Purple Dream Monarch explained helplessly. "Pavilion Master Yao Ji, have you ever thought that the fire seed in our bodies is still there? If another group of strange corpse race comes, will they still take away the fire seed gently like today? No, they will kill us first, then take away our tinder, and finally turn us into their slaves to conquer the next civilization. At that time, who will persuade the corpse race to take the fire seed in a friendly manner, not harming a single living creature? You or me?" Upon hearing that, the female pavilion venerable's expression turned grave. It was only then that she realized Su Yu's intentions. He was doing this for the sake of the entire Sea of Constellations civilization. This matter had nothing to do with him, but he still put in so much effort to do it. Who possessed such a breadth of mind that cherished the common people. No wonder even the chief pavilion master bowed to him. However, even though he understood, Yao Ji could not swallow the resentment from that day. He snorted and said, "All of you speak up for him," he said. "I am." With that, he flicked his sleeves and left. The chief cabinet master said to Su Yu apologetically, "Yao Ji is too engrossed in his training, so he doesn't have enough experience in dealing with people." Su Yu didn't take it seriously. "He's just a stubborn old antique." As the group conversed, they quickly extracted the fire seed. Half a day later, the extraction of the fire seed was complete. Su. Back then, he had been injured by the Emperor corpse, and the corpse energy lingered in his body, gradually turning him into a corpse. Venerable Su. Then, it's all up to the corpse kings. The chief cabinet master looked at the 9 corpse kings standing side by side behind Su Yu and sighed emotionally. He Su, not. Of him, he. Master. Of the pavilion master of the Su, I master. He. Of. You master. Of. The chief pavilion master nodded and began to refine the venom. A day later, the sky above the castle was dark. It was full of venom. The Pearl Corpse King exclaimed. "The venom of the Su is stronger than that of the 9 great corpse kings. Fortunately, it has been 30,000 years and it has weakened. Otherwise, it would be useless. After some effort, the corpse aura that had accumulated in the chief pavilion master's body for a long time was finally cleansed. Ha! I never thought I would recover. My friends from the corpse clan, thank you! The chief pavilion master was overjoyed. He thought he would die after 300 years, but he was relieved of 30,000 years of bad luck. Zhu Ji smiled and said, "You should be thanking my husband. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have bothered to heal you." The chief pavilion master was not angry. He chuckled. "Yes, Su Yu is my benefactor. My meeting at the ancient dream altar was the turning point of my fate." At the mention of the ancient dream altar, Su Yu thought for a moment and took out a golden alms bowl that was emitting an amazing Buddha's light. As soon as this item appeared, the 9 corpse kings retreated in shock. Their bodies involuntarily emitted black venom as they screamed in horror. Zhu Ji looked pained. "Husband, take it back. We can't take it anymore." Su Yu was surprised. He had only taken it out, so how could it cause such great damage? He hurriedly put away the alms bowl, looking apologetic. The chief pavilion master was stunned. "Is this the relic of the faceless Buddha?" Su Yu nodded. "Yes. It has been suppressing the corpse emperor. When the corpse emperor was born, he wanted to take this away, but I got it first. Chief pavilion master, do you know what this is?" The only thing that had not been solved was the alms bowl. The chief pavilion master was deep in thought. "I think this is a legendary doctrine artifact." Doctrine artifact? Su Yu felt the name was familiar. The chief pavilion master said, "It is the artifact used by the Path Master. It is far superior to the real Emperor-level divine weapons that we know of." An artifact of a higher level than an Emperor-based saint artifact? Su Yu was shocked. The rest of the corpse kings also looked jealous. However, the doctrine artifact is very special. Apart from the owner of the doctrine artifact, no one else can use it. The chief pavilion master said, "Because every doctrine artifact is refined by the Path Master from the great way of heaven and earth." Su Yu was disappointed to hear such an answer. The chief pavilion master laughed. "Why are you disappointed? Even if you can't use it, the doctrine artifact's own attributes are superior to real Emperor-level divine weapons. For example, the Buddha's power of this alms bowl. With this thing protecting you, the corpse king of the one-crowned emperor won't dare to approach you. Even the corpse king of the two-crowned emperor may not be able to do anything to you." This was barely a consolation. "Since the chief pavilion master is safe and sound, I will return to the corpse clan to make arrangements. In order to prevent a rift between the two sides, the corpse clan should leave the Sea of Constellations as soon as possible." The chief pavilion master smiled. "Thank you." The chief pavilion master watched Su Yu leave, but Su Yu stood motionless and looked at him deeply. "Chief pavilion master, I seem to have forgotten something." He was startled. After thinking carefully, he said, "Are they Brother Su's 2 friends? It's very strange. I have ordered people to search the entire Sea of Constellations. The 2 people you mentioned are not there." "Disappeared?" Su Yu's heart sank. Xia Jingyu and Shunga had left the ancient dream altar first. Why would they disappear? Could it be the Emperor's corpse? Zhu Ji asked. Su Yu pondered. The Emperor's corpse was the most elusive of the 3 great corpse kings who had awakened. No one knew where the Emperor's corpse was. It was possible that it was done by him. "Then I will think of another way," Su Yu said. He had tried to revive the 2 of them, but it was ineffective. This meant that their lives were not in danger, so Su Yu was not too worried. "Then the mess in the Sea of Constellations will be handled by the chief pavilion master," Su Yu said. During the confrontation between the 2 clans, there had been many who were disloyal to the alliance of living beings. It was imperative to purge them. The chief pavilion master's eyes darkened, and he nodded slightly. "Don't worry, I will. But you have to be careful." There was a hidden meaning in his words. Su Yu and the 9 Corpse Kings returned to the Corpse Clan's army. Now that we have the flame, let's leave the Sea of Constellations as soon as possible, Su Yu suggested. Zhuji was surprised. Aren't you coming with us? Su Yu shook his head. I am in trouble. It's better to stay away from you. Zhuji laughed. With the protection of the 9 Corpse Kings, what trouble can't be solved? Even 90 Corpse Kings can't protect me. Su Yu smiled helplessly. Being targeted by the sinful lady, the divine warriors of heaven and earth couldn't solve the problem at all. Don't doubt my words, Su Yu said. You go and settle the group of corpses. I want to be alone for a while. Zhuji wanted to say something but stopped. She still listened to Su Yu and left silently, leaving Su Yu alone in the tent. The Sea of Constellations had been settled, and it was time for Su Yu to leave. If the sinful lady arrived, it would be too late. Corpse King Su Yu, I have something important to report. Suddenly, a corpse came in from outside the tent. Su Yu said, Come in. An ordinary-looking corpse in broken armor walked in and said, Reporting to Su Yu, Corpse King, we found some creatures whose fire seeds have not yet been extracted. Perhaps they are the remnants of the alliance of living beings. They are still eyeing us covetously. How should we deal with them? Su Yu paced and said, Is that so? That's difficult. If we don't handle it properly, it will easily lead to misunderstandings and a war. After thinking about it, Su Yu felt that the situation was serious and walked out of the tent. You wait here. I will summon the 9 Corpse Kings to discuss it. He walked to the entrance of the tent and passed by the corpse who reported. But at the moment when his shoulder passed by, Su Yu's body stiffened, and a strong sense of alarm rose in his heart. The long-lost feeling of facing death reverberated in Su Yu's chest. Corpse King Su Yu. The corpse who reported had an inscrutable expression, and even his tone became mysterious. You, who seized control of the Corpse Clan and planned such a great war, have to discuss such a small matter with the 9 Corpse Kings? Or have you guessed who I am and are in a hurry to escape? He put his hands behind his back and said slowly. Despite the constant warning signs in his heart, Su Yu's expression was as calm as ever. With his back to him, he said, No matter how sensitive your mind is, you can't escape the eyes of the Emperor Corpse. The two turned around at the same time and faced each other at a close distance, less than 3 feet away from each other. Just now, the corpse was still humble, but in the blink of an eye, it became domineering. Looking at him, Su Yu felt a terrible pressure. I should be the one to say that. The Emperor Corpse said lightly, Even if the pearl is in front of you, you may not recognize me. Your eyes are really unique. Su Yu chuckled. It's not that my eyes are unique, but I happen to know a characteristic of the Emperor Corpse. Oh? Tell me about it. The Emperor Corpse was calm, as if looking at a mouse before death. Su Yu said leisurely, I have a friend who once cut off the index finger of the Emperor Corpse 30,000 years ago, and your right index finger happens to be incomplete. Chapter 1763. The Emperor's corpse lowered his right hand from behind his back. Sure enough, his index finger was missing. One finger exposed me. I really didn't expect it. The Emperor's corpse laughed. Your friend from 30,000 years ago was the female pavilion master of the Star Pavilion, wasn't she? Su Yu said lightly, It doesn't matter who she is. What's the point of showing up now? The war is over, and all the souls of the Constellation Sea civilization have been extracted. It doesn't matter whether you are here or not, Su Yu said slowly. Ha, young man, you are still too naive, the Emperor's corpse said lightly. Who said the souls of the Constellation Sea civilization are worthless? Only by transforming them into the Corpse Clan can our Corpse Clan continue to grow and conquer more civilizations. Su Yu slowly stepped back and said, The general trend is irreversible. You can't succeed in the Constellation Sea civilization. He secretly crushed a jade butterfly in his sleeve and sent a message. The message went directly to the Life Alliance and could inform Huang Fu Liang instantly. The Emperor's corpse said with a smile, "Do you think only Zhuji has her own confidant?" Bang! Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. An ominous premonition shrouded his heart. Poof! The sound of annihilation came from behind. The message was destroyed by a strong man. Su Yu's pupils shrank when he turned around. A creature with a dog's head leaned against the entrance of the tent with an evil smile and looked at Su Yu. "Young man, if you escape from the hands of the divine warriors of heaven and earth, you will be a laughing stock." Another divine warrior of heaven and earth? Su Yu felt vaguely familiar. That breath was the corpse dog. Su Yu suddenly remembered the corpse dog that appeared when he rescued Lan Yu and the others near the main pavilion of the Star Pavilion. Was this divine warrior of heaven and earth in the constellation C at that time? Su Yu's mind turned quickly, thinking of countermeasures. He had never faced two divine warriors of heaven and earth at the same time. In particular, one of them was the famous Emperor's corpse. In front of him, Su Yu had no doubt that even if he was the divine warrior of heaven and earth, he would not be able to fight back. Su Yu's eyes turned slightly, and he said in a low voice, "You didn't just show up to kill me, did you?" If he really wanted to kill Su Yu, he would have killed Su Yu the moment they met. To the Emperor's corpse, it would be a piece of cake. The Emperor corpse smiled. "To be more precise, I came to kill you after learning that you chased away the corpse Emperor. However, after seeing your scheme, I began to cherish your talent. It would be a pity to kill you like this or turn you into a corpse race without intelligence." Su Yu's heart moved slightly. "Then, you want to become my slave?" The Emperor corpse clasped his hands behind his back and said, "This king has never taken slaves. You are an exception." In his opinion, Su Yu might be more valuable than a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Su Yu's gaze shifted as he spread out his hands and said helplessly, "It seems like I have no other choice. Haha, I like smart people like you. You can save this king a lot of saliva." The Emperor's corpse smiled faintly. He rubbed his right wrist and produced a pitch-black mud ball. He threw it to Su Yu and said, "Swallow it." Su Yu felt disgusted. The poison that he had imagined to control him as a slave did not appear. Instead, it was dirt that he had casually rubbed? How was he supposed to swallow it? Hee, human boy, you have to taste it seriously. The corpse-loving dog Emperor behind him laughed strangely. Every hair on the Emperor corpse's body is full of essence. How many corpse race clansmen would fight to get their hands on such a pill? Don't despise it. Of course, for the corpse race, this is a great supplement. But for you, eat this great supplement pill and you can be at ease as a slave. If you resist even a little, you will suffer a fate worse than death. Don't doubt my words. It really is a fate worse than death. Even the divine warriors of heaven and earth can't bear this kind of pain. Su Yu grinned. "Great supplement pill, eat it," the Emperor corpse said calmly. Su Yu pinched it with 2 fingers and slowly brought it to his mouth. Under the gaze of 2 divine warriors of heaven and earth, Su Yu had no chance to play tricks. However, it was also because of this that they were very relaxed. In front of the double-crowned divine warriors, even the divine warriors of heaven and earth had no chance of turning the tables. What could a mere golden overlord do? Just as Su Yu was about to bring the great supplement pill to his mouth, suddenly, a green light flashed on Su Yu's arm. Then, a shining golden alms bowl appeared out of nowhere. The alms bowl released a magnificent Buddha's light. The Emperor corpse was only 30 feet away, and he was caught off guard by the Buddha's light. In an instant, the Emperor corpse's body was full of corpse energy, emitting incomparably thick smoke. In shock and anger, he was forced out of the tent by the Buddha's light. "Ah! This is the soundless Buddha's doctrine artifact. How did it fall into your hands?" The Emperor corpse roared in shock. It seemed that the Emperor corpse and the corpse Emperor were not completely united. At least the corpse Emperor had concealed the truth that Su Yu had obtained the doctrine artifact. As a result, The Emperor Corpse had suffered a loss. Corpse Emperor, what are you waiting for? Kill him, don't hold back. The Emperor Corpse roared. The Buddha's light had a restraining effect on the corpse race, but it had little effect on other creatures. The Corpse Emperor was stunned for a moment before coming to his senses. He sneered coldly. I gave you a chance to live, but you insist on seeking death. He flicked out a hand, shaped like a black dog's paw, carrying the faintly discernible power of law, and tore straight at Su Yu's back. In an instant, Su Yu suddenly felt a burning pain coming from his back. This was the result of the claw not having reached him yet. If the claw had hit him, no matter how powerful he would not have been able to reverse the situation. Su Yu was prepared. As he took out the Buddhist doctrine artifact, he stabbed back with his sword. Royal Power Dragon's Sovereign Sword. The cold dragons might turned into the shadow of a dragon as it charged behind him. The Corpse Emperor froze, retracting his claw and coldly snorting. I didn't expect you to hide such a great treasure. It's a pity that you've met me. His body suddenly split into pieces, turning into lumps of flesh that spread out. The dragon-shaped sword energy sliced through most of the lumps of flesh, but only one managed to avoid it. This lump of flesh immediately regenerated into the Corpse Emperor. Its cultivation and aura did not weaken in the slightest. Su Yu had never heard of such a method of avoiding a powerful attack. Human brat, die. The Corpse Emperor took advantage of Su Yu's missed attack to attack with a sudden claw. This time, Su Yu could not avoid it. Little Kylan, what are you waiting for? Su Yu grumpily shouted at the last moment. The little Kylan lay on Su Yu's shoulder, stretching lazily. It's finally my turn to fight. Shaking its body, the little Kylan looked at the Corpse Emperor with a face full of disdain. Hey! It took a step forward, facing the opponent's claw without fear. Even more strangely, it did not use any divine techniques, allowing the claw to injure it. Puff! The scene of the little Kylan being sent flying or pierced by the claw did not occur. Instead, the little Kylan was like nothing, and the Corpse Emperor's claw pierced right through it. What kind of rule is this? The Corpse Emperor was shocked. The little Kylan snorted. This is my unique slap-your-face rule. The seemingly weak hoof landed on the Corpse Emperor's face, but it exploded with great power. The Corpse Emperor's entire head was smashed into pieces. Its body was slammed into the ground tens of thousands of feet deep. Even the lava was squeezed out by the great force, forming a crimson fountain. Su Yu clicked his tongue. This was the little Kylan's true power. A rule that could turn nothingness into reality. Anyone who saw it would have a headache. Let's go. After defeating the Corpse Emperor, Su Yu dashed out of the tent, heading straight for the Life Alliance's castle. Where do you think you're going? The terrifying roar came crashing over like a tsunami. Su Yu's body shuddered, and the divine energy in his body trembled, almost collapsing. Su Yu gripped the alms bowl tightly, alleviating the strange feeling in his body. Whoosh! The Emperor's corpse attacked like a shadow, but it stopped 10,000 feet away, not daring to get too close. It was obvious that it was extremely afraid of the Buddha's light. If it were forced to get close, it would be very harmful to it. Roaring corpse mountains and rivers. The Emperor's corpse roared into the sky, and the terrifying sound wave rule came crashing down. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. Fortunately, the Buddha's light was a natural enemy to the Corpse clan. Even the divine technique of the double-crowned Emperor could not penetrate the Buddha's light. Su Yu breathed a sigh of relief. It's not a good time to get entangled. He grabbed the solemn-faced little Kylan and left quickly. The Emperor's corpse's face was calm. It opened its mouth and spat out a three-colored bone sword. Great Destruction Corpse Sword. The Emperor's corpse was enraged. It held the bone sword and slashed at Su Yu from afar. At this moment, Su Yu's heart was beating wildly. The sense of crisis of life and death was like an alarm bell ringing in Su Yu's heart. It could not be stopped. The Buddha's light could not stop this sword. Su Yu threw the little Kailan behind him and took out the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit without thinking. Poof! Almost at this moment, the Buddha's light was split open. The remaining sword energy went straight to Su Yu. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit immediately swallowed up all the sword energy. However, the powerful impact of the sword energy still sent Su Yu flying. There was a fishy sweetness in his throat. Die! As he flew backward, the Emperor's corpse waved the second sword without hesitation. The same powerful sword energy followed closely after the first sword. The Buddha's light had not yet recovered, and the sword energy came slashing down. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit was not enough to completely block it. With this sword, he would definitely die. There was no way around it. A double-crowned emperor and a single-crowned emperor were two completely different levels of existence. Great light technique. At this moment, a clear shout, full of the righteousness of heaven and earth, came slashing down like a sharp sword. At the same time, the sky and earth were covered with golden sunlight. Under the illumination of the light, all evil spirits evaporated. The Emperor's sword was the same, melting rapidly under the illumination of the golden light. The Emperor's corpse suddenly looked up and said, "Huang Fu Liang." Back then, it was Huang Fu Liang who purified the corpse army with the supreme divine technique, the great light technique, that ruined their attack plan. Swish, a brilliant golden light descended, and Huang Fu Liang's figure was vaguely visible inside. Emperor's corpse, how have you been? The Emperor's corpse's pupils shrank slightly. Your injuries have healed? Haha, do you want to try? Huang Fu Liang asked with a faint smile. The two of them looked at each other, and sparks flew from their eyes. However, they restrained themselves and did not make a move. The Emperor's corpse thought about it, looked at Su Yu and sighed. You failed again after 30,000 years. But the main culprit of this failure is actually an unremarkable small character. This is really unexpected. Perhaps the destiny of the constellation C civilization is not over, the Emperor's corpse said faintly. With a tap of his toes, he flew out of the ancient star and said, "However, I will not give up. Sooner or later, I will come back." When he finished speaking, he disappeared from sight. The corpse emperor followed closely and left the ancient star completely. Su Yu breathed a sigh of relief and bowed gratefully. Thank you for saving me in time, Chief Pavilion Master. Chapter 1764. Haha, no need to thank me. You provoked him for the sake of the people of the Sea of Constellations. I have no reason to sit back and do nothing. Huang Fu Liang chuckled. Fortunately, he showed up for you. Otherwise, I really don't know where to find him. It turned out that Huang Fu Liang had expected that the Emperor corpse would likely cause trouble for Su Yu. Therefore, he had been paying attention to Su Yu so that he could take action in time. The corpse kings who came after hearing the news were also very surprised. Especially when they learned that the Emperor corpse was coming, they looked even more solemn. Huang Fu Liang thought about it and suggested, "You'd better not leave the civilization of the Sea of Constellations in a hurry. The Emperor corpse is very good at hiding. Maybe he said he would leave, but he is hiding somewhere in the Sea of Constellations, waiting for you to be alone to attack." Su Yu was shocked. He had to be careful. Judging from the Emperor corpse's behavior, he didn't seem like an upright person. Well, I will be in the corpse clan. If anything happens, you can find me at any time. Su Yu cupped his fist. Huang Fu Liang smiled. No problem. He returned to the castle, but he still kept a part of his mind on Su Yu, in case the Emperor corpse returned. At this moment, several strange breaths were reflected in Huang Fu Liang's perception. The breath of an extraterrestrial civilization? Huang Fu Liang frowned deeply. The appearance of an extraterrestrial civilization at this time was not necessarily a good thing. He turned around and stood on the city wall, quietly watching the extraterrestrial breaths go straight to the castle. They were an old man and two young men. He only glanced at the old man before focusing his attention on the arrogant young man. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Doppelganger? What a special cultivation technique! The cultivation of the three was not strong. At least in Huang Fuliang's eyes, he could suppress the three of them with one hand. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. With his hands behind his back, he waited for the three to arrive. Oh, no wonder the Sea of Constellations is empty. It turns out that the Corpse Clan has driven them to a dead end. Ao Xiang glanced at Gu Xing and understood the situation. The north-gazing Pearl shook his head. After all, it is a barbaric civilization. In historical records, no barbaric civilization has been able to resist the Corpse Clan. This Sea of Constellations is quite extraordinary for it to persist until now. The Pear King, the old man in the middle, looked at the city indifferently. When his gaze fell onto Huang Fuliang, he frowned slightly because he actually couldn't see through Huang Fuliang's cultivation. However, there were many reasons why he couldn't see through one's cultivation. It could be that the other party's cultivation was higher than his, or that he had a special artifact to conceal it. The creatures of the barbaric civilization could only belong to the latter. I'm the former Pear King of the Northern Kingdom of the Du Dynasty. May I ask who you are? Huang Fu Liang chuckled. My surname is Huang Fu, and my name is Liang. What brings you here from afar? The Pear King nodded arrogantly. I need you to do something for me. Once it's done, there will be plenty of benefit. His tone was completely like he was speaking to his subordinates, full of command. What is it? Huang Fu Liang remained calm. The Pear King said, We are looking for a Constellation Sea's living creature called Suyu. You must find him within 3 days. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Suyu? Huang Fu Liang smiled faintly. He was not surprised by the purpose of their visit. After stealing the king of Beatty's tripod, it was impossible for the Beatty land to let it go. I'm done with my request. Do you have any objections? The Pear King asked indifferently. Huang Fu Liang was surprised. I don't have any objections. However, as you can see, we just had a great battle with the Corpse Clan, and we can't even take care of ourselves. I'm afraid we don't have the time to help you find Suyu. Please go back. Ao Xiang glared at him. Old man, don't think that you can look down on us just because you are an emperor. The vast constellation sea in your eyes is nothing in the eyes of the Beattyland. Do you understand? Don't be a frog in a well. They naturally thought that Huang Fu Liang was a narrow-minded person who only knew about the Constellation Sea's civilization and did not know about the vastness of the outside world. Haha, I'm not trying to flatter myself, but I really can't help you. Please go back. Huang Fu Liang had an extraordinary bearing, and he was not angry at all. He waved his hand with a smile, turned around, and walked into the city. The Pear King's old face was filled with displeasure. Have you decided to disobey me and the Du Dynasty? In response, Huang Fu Liang waved his hand without looking back. A tinge of annoyance appeared on the Pear King's face. He strode over and placed his hand on Huang Fu Liang's shoulder. Sir, I'm afraid you don't have the right to reject the orders of the Du Dynasty. Bang! Huang Fu Liang's shoulder shook slightly. He did not seem to use much strength, but the Pear King's old hand was bounced off like a dead branch. The Pear King lost his balance and staggered backward. The north-gazing Pearl supported him and scolded, Ancestor, you were just being nice. Why did you hurt him? Ao Xiang was even more impatient. You are a creature of a barbaric civilization. It's more direct to speak with your fist. Ancestor, don't talk nonsense. Just fight. The two of them were extremely unhappy. They had thought that it would be easy to capture Suyu once they reached the Constellation Sea. Who knew that a random divine warrior of heaven and earth from the Constellation Sea's civilization would be so stubborn? Both of you, shut up. The Pear King stood up. His face was filled with uncertainty. After hesitating for a moment, he bowed and said, Junior Li Xian, please forgive me for offending you. The north-gazing Pearl and Ao Xiang were both stunned. Senior, there were only a few people in the entire Du Empire who could be addressed as senior by the ancestor. This dazzling golden emperor was actually being addressed as a senior? Huang Fu Liang was quite open-minded. He waved his hand nonchalantly. Then, please go back. It's not the right time. Go back? How could they go back without finding the Beixin King Cauldron? If they couldn't find the Beixin King Cauldron, the Eastern royal family would be furious. The descendants of Beixin would be severely punished. The Pear King said, Senior, if you like my insignificant strength, I am willing to assist you to defeat the Corpse Clan. They thought that the Corpse Clan and the Alliance of Living Beings were still hostile. If they had come 2 days earlier, Huang Fu Liang might have welcomed them. But now the Pear King added, Senior, even if we go back, more descendants of Beixin will come looking for us. Huang Fu Liang was silent. After a while, he sighed. All right, come with me. I will gather a few colleagues and listen to your requests. Soon, the 3 cabinet masters, the Purple Dream Divine Warrior, and the Snow Dragon Divine Warrior all gathered in the conference hall. An hour later, Huang Fu Liang said, Everyone, this is the cause and effect of the matter. Do you have any good suggestions for the request of the guests of the Du Empire? Except for the female cabinet master, who had a stern face, the others all had strange looks on their faces. Suggestions? What suggestions did they have? Were they supposed to hand Su Yu over to them? In fact, they were even more confused. Why did the chief cabinet master agree to their request? With the strength of the chief cabinet master, he could force them all to leave if he was a little more forceful. The few divine warriors of heaven and earth looked embarrassed. They really couldn't come up with any good suggestions. The Pear King saw that something was wrong. He frowned and said, Is it difficult to catch the human surnamed Su? It wasn't just difficult, it was deadly. If outsiders wanted to catch Su Yu, not only did the few divine warriors of heaven and earth have to agree, but also the 9 corpse kings of the Corpse Clan had to agree. His question was like asking how difficult it was to cut off one of their fingers. The few divine warriors of heaven and earth couldn't help but twitch their mouths. Only the female cabinet master snorted coldly. He is in the Corpse Clan. In the Corpse Clan? The Pear King wasn't surprised. It wasn't uncommon for living creatures to betray and join the Corpse Clan, so it wasn't strange at all. I see. May I ask how strong these Corpse Clan members are? The Pear King asked. The female cabinet master said, 9 Corpse Kings. Yes, one of them has a close relationship with Su Yu. Hearing that, the Pear King's face fell slightly. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. After thinking for a while, Huang Fu Liang said, Since the Pear King is sure that Su Yu stole the Beixin King Cauldron, it's better to invite Su Yu over to confront him face to face. What do you think, Pear King? The Pear King was confused. Invite? How? Senior, do you mean that the 7 of us should join forces and go deep into the Corpse Clan to catch him? The chief cabinet master laughed and said, No, one of us is enough. He looked at the Purple Dream Divine Warrior and said, Then I'll have to trouble the Purple Dream Divine Warrior to go there in person. Haha, no problem. I also have something to discuss with him in private. The Purple Dream Divine Warrior stood up and floated away like a fairy. The Pear King was dumbfounded. The north-facing Pearl and Ao Xiang were also confused. What was wrong with the civilization of the Sea of Constellations? Sending an ordinary divine warrior of heaven and earth to capture the traitor without any resistance? The Corpse Clan. Zhu Ji said, Just now, our people found out that a few creatures escaped from the city. Some of their cultivations were quite high. Chief Cabinet Master must have started to clean up the traitors of the Alliance of Living Beings, Su Yu said indifferently. Zhu Ji frowned slightly. What I'm concerned about is that one of them is called Tanlang. I remember that you are familiar with him, right? Him? Suyu was surprised. I didn't expect him to still be alive. That's surprising. It was not easy for Tanlang to survive until now in such a huge war. He was narrow-minded and greedy. Suyu's cultivation was not high enough at that time, so he lied to Tanlang that he was the direct disciple of the sinful lady. He did not expect Tanlang to believe him. Should we go after him? Zhuji asked Suyu for his opinion. Suyu shook his head. That won't be necessary. It's his fortune that he has survived until now. Just don't let me see him again. Right at that moment, a mocking voice drifted over. You two are in such a good mood. Drinking last month. The purple dream divine warrior was like a flower or mist, a faint smile on her beautiful face. Suyu stood up to welcome her. Purple dream divine warrior, welcome. You are now the great benefactor of the Sea of Constellations, and your status is comparable to that of the chief cabinet master. How could I have the confidence to visit you? The purple dream divine warrior laughed. I came to invite you over. People from the Northern Territory are here. The chief cabinet master invites you over. Zhu Ji stood up abruptly and frowned. They want to steal the king tripod? No way. The flame in the king tripod was the source of life for her. Suyu comforted her with a smile. Don't worry. Since the chief cabinet master has invited me over, he will certainly seek justice for me. It was not seeking justice. It was obviously to give Suyu an explanation. He had done so much for the Sea of Constellations, so Huangfu Liang had to show his sincerity. Let's go and meet them. They are here in the Sea of Constellations. Ha! Suyu laughed with a strange expression. Chapter 1765. Wait. We corpse kings will go as well. Pearl snorted. I want to see who dares to ask for people from the corpse clan. The group of corpse kings had mischievous expressions on their faces, all wanting to watch a good show. King Suyu returned to the city. Along the way, the Purple Dream Divine Master looked at Suyu meaningfully and said, Do you remember what you promised me? Suyu did not bat an eyelid. Holy mortal body? Enchem, the Purple Dream Sovereign said. That was how they became fated with each other. Unfortunately, the ancient corpse race had attacked them violently, causing them to give up halfway. Elder, are you going to start looking for the sacred mortal body again? Suyu asked. Unexpectedly, the Purple Dream Monarch shook her head. No, I've already found it. Suyu's heart skipped a beat, but his eyes were exceptionally calm. He smiled and said, Congratulations, Elder. May I ask who the so-called holy mortal body is? The Purple Dream Sovereign smiled mysteriously. It's a secret. He was deliberately playing tricks. Suyu muttered to himself. Alliance Meeting Hall. Pear King spoke to the living beings of the Alliance in a pleasant manner. He no longer looked as arrogant as before. He looked at Huangfu Liang curiously from time to time. As far as he knew, it was impossible for a barbaric civilization to nurture a divine warrior with 2 crowns. The Du Empire was a 2.5-star civilization, and it had only given birth to 3 of them. Unless there was one possibility. The Double Crown Emperor in front of him was not born here but came from a higher civilization. After thinking about it carefully, the Pear King was even more certain that the identity of this Double Crown Emperor was not ordinary. The Purple Dream Emperor has brought Suyu back. A report came from outside the hall. The Pear King was shocked. In just the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, a sovereign of heaven and earth had successfully captured someone from the corpse race army? How unimaginable! Following a series of footsteps, the Purple Dream Sovereign entered the hall first. A silver-haired youth followed closely behind him. His expression was calm, his clothes were plain, and he wore an ice crystal crown on his head. Suyu! Ao Xiang and the North-gazing Pearl stood up at the same time and stared at him. The Pear King's eyes lit up as he shouted, It's him! The 3 of them heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the matter of losing the Beixin royal cauldron would soon be resolved. But soon after, more people walked in. There were 9 of them in total. The Pear King was stunned when she heard the first question. The Corpse King of the Corpse Clan? The Pear King finally realized the severity of the situation when the 9 Corpse Kings entered the hall as if there was no one else around. Looking left and right, he discovered that the creatures present were all calm. They did not mind being together with the corpse race at all, and there was no conflict. The Pear King's heart skipped a beat. The question in his mind suddenly became clear. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat, and his neck was stiff. He stood rooted to the ground, not daring to move. This unbelievable truth echoed in his mind. Ao Xiang and the North-Gazing Pearl also realized the problem and froze in place. Surrounded by the 9 Corpse Kings, Su Yu cupped his fists at the Chief Pavilion Master and sat down casually. I heard someone was looking for me. The Chief Pavilion Master smiled. These 3 guests insisted on seeing you, so I had no choice but to invite you over. The Chief Pavilion Master glanced at the Pear King and shook his head. He had repeatedly declined and tried to persuade them to go back, but they insisted on coming. He couldn't stop them, so what could he do? Su Yu had a smile on his face as he looked at them. Hee, how have you been? Pear King, Ao Xiang, and North-Gazing Pearl's expressions gradually turned grim. It was obvious that the situation in the Sea of Constellations was extremely strange. How could the corpse race, which was their mortal enemy, get along with the living creatures peacefully? Moreover, it was obvious that Su Yu was protected by both the corpse race and the alliance of living creatures. What was ridiculous was that the 3 of them had barged in to ask for Su Yu. Now, they were surrounded by them. Not to mention capturing Su Yu and bringing him back, the 3 of them would all die here if this youth gave the order. The Pear King calmed himself down and forced a smile. Yes, it's been a long time. His original plan of beating Su Yu up after discovering him was destined to never come to fruition. His priority now was to save his own life. Why did you come all the way here to see me? Su Yu asked with a faint smile. The Pear King wiped his cold sweat. He didn't dare mention the North-Gazing King Cauldron at this moment. He was afraid that once he mentioned it, they wouldn't be able to leave. The Pear King smiled gently and said, Mr. Su, you must have forgotten that, as the champion of the Great Void Hidden Dragon contest, you haven't received your prize yet. We came here just to give it to you. Hearing this, North-Gazing Pearl pursed his lips and swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. How infuriating! It was obvious that this guy had stolen their things, and they were only here to ask for it. How did they end up giving it to him? Ao Xiang's eyes darkened. He was extremely unwilling to accept this. He hated the feeling of being controlled by others and having to lower his head. However, the situation was stronger than him. Oh? I almost forgot about the prize, Su Yu said as if he had just remembered it. But I remember that according to the rules, the prize is only to enter the North-Gazing King Cauldron and use the nation's fate to comprehend it, right? Did you bring the North-Gazing King Cauldron? How dare you mention the North-Gazing King Cauldron? The 3 of them were so infuriated by Su Yu's shamelessness that they vomited blood. The Pear King forced a smile and said, I didn't bring the King Cauldron, but I did bring the rest of the prize. Su Yu said, Oh? What is it? Tell me about it. He and the Pear King both knew that the North-Gazing King Cauldron had already fallen into Su Yu's hands. Now, they were just bargaining to see how much the Pear King could offer before letting them go. How could the Pear King be stingy when it was a matter of life and death? With a wave of his sleeves, 9 precious treasures appeared. Most of them were enough to make the divine warriors of heaven and earth jealous, as they were also very beneficial to them. The first-place winner of the Great Void Hidden Dragon Cauldron will receive additional prizes in addition to comprehending the North-Gazing King Cauldron. Mr. Su, please have a look. Su Yu glanced at them one by one. To be honest, each of them was amazing. Each of them was a rare treasure that was worth fighting for by the divine warriors of heaven and earth. Even though the Pear King had once been a king, these 9 treasures had almost depleted half of his wealth. It was obvious that he was very generous in order to survive. However, none of them suited Su Yu. Observing Su Yu's expression, the Pear King's heart thumped. He was not satisfied. The Pear King was experienced and knowledgeable, so he knew what the problem was after a moment's thought. He couldn't help but slap his forehead. I was too careless. Although the prizes were precious, none of them suited Su Yu. However, he was a divine warrior of heaven and earth, so most of the things he carried were related to the divine warriors of heaven and earth. As for the rest, none of them suited Su Yu. Suddenly, the Pear King's heart moved, and he ordered Ao Xiang, "Take out the blood crystal Bodhi. That is also a prize for Mr. Su." Ao Xiang was extremely angry, and he transmitted his voice to the Pear King. "Ancestor, that is a divine item bestowed upon me by the Eastern Nation's king. It can help me break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth. How can you give it to him?" The Pear King shouted secretly, "What kind of situation is this? Your life is more important, so give it to him quickly." While the two of them were arguing, Su Yu calmly said, "If there are only these prizes." The Pear King had a bad feeling about this, so he reached out and forcefully tore open Ao Xiang's storage space. He then took out a glittering crystal. It was only the size of a thumb, and it looked like a Bodhi. "What is this?" Su Yu couldn't help but be curious. The Bodhi contained a very special essence, and the fragrance it emitted caused a stir in Su Yu's body. "This is the blood crystal Bodhi unique to the Eastern Nation's royal family. It is a divine item that can only be grown by watering it with the blood of the Eastern Nation's royal family." The chief pavilion master's eyes flickered, and he transmitted his voice to Su Yu secretly. "Su Yu, take it quickly. It is a good item." For him to call it a good item, it was obvious how precious it was. Only then did Su Yu reveal a smile. "I am indebted to Beidong's concern for sending these prizes from thousands of miles away." The Pear King smiled apologetically. "It is my pleasure. Then I shall accept it." Su Yu waved his sleeves and took everything away. Ao Xiang watched as Su Yu took the blood crystal Bodhi, and his eyes were so red that they were about to bleed. Without this item, his plan to break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth would be delayed by at least 10 years. In the blink of an eye, Ao Xiang rushed over and grabbed the blood crystal Bodhi with one hand. Su Yu's eyes flickered, and he activated his space divine technique. The blood crystal Bodhi was teleported away, and it landed in Su Yu's palm. Space divine technique? Ao Xiang was shocked, and he grabbed nothing. He stared at Su Yu with a gloomy expression. "What is the meaning of this?" Su Yu asked coldly. Ao Xiang glared at Su Yu and said in a low voice, "Nothing, I just wanted to test the skills of the Great Void Hidden Dragon King. Not bad, not bad." It was obvious that he had failed to snatch it, so he was giving himself a way out. What was more infuriating was that his evaluation of Su Yu was exceptionally low. It was clear that he was unwilling to accept defeat at Su Yu's hands that day. After saying that, he turned and walked back to the Pear King. His gloomy eyes were filled with anger. However, there was a movement behind him. It was Su Yu who stood up slowly and stared at him coldly. "If you want to test my skills, I can grant you your wish." Ao Xiang turned around abruptly. He had come from thousands of miles away, and the Beixin Wang Cauldron was not the most important thing. "Good. Very good. I thought you would always hide behind a few divine warriors of heaven and earth, not having the courage to fight." Ao Xiang laughed heartily and strode over like a meteor. "I have been looking forward to this battle for a long time." He did not believe that he would be inferior to this nameless junior from a barbaric civilization. In this battle, you are not allowed to use external forces, such as that dragon sword of yours. How about it? Do you have the guts? Ao Xiang asked. Hearing that, Zhuji smiled contemptuously. Then do you have the guts to destroy your own cultivation and reach the level of a golden overlord? A half-divine warrior of heaven and earth against a golden overlord. If this is considered a fair battle, then it would be considered a fair battle if I fought you personally. Ao Xiang raised his neck and said with conviction, the second place of the great void hidden Dragon King is a half-divine warrior of heaven and earth. Since he claims to be the first, he should be confident. Why, in the end, do you not have the guts? Are you just talking big? Anyone could tell that he was trying to goad Ao Xiang. Anyone with a bit of sense would not agree to it. Sure, I will fight you without using that dragon sword. However, Su Yu easily fell into his trap. A cold smile flashed across Ao Xiang's eyes. Chapter 1766. Alright. You have guts. Ao Xiang formed a seal with both hands. Proud sword song. Small green swords appeared between his palms, each the size of a thumb. Not only did each of them contain sword chi, but they also contained the faintly discernible afterimages of the nomological chains. The chief pavilion master nodded approvingly. Not bad. He has already begun to train the law of the Great Path internally and is familiar with its use. He is only one step away from breaking through to become a divine emperor. Zhu Ji also expressed her admiration. Although this guy is arrogant, this move is not bad. At least among those of the same level, there aren't many who are his match. The Pear King could not stop him in time and could only watch silently. Towards Ao Xiang's strength, he was very confident. Back then, when Ao Xiang's two swords had been defeated by Su Yu's hands, he felt that it did not fully explain the difference in their abilities. Firstly, Ao Xiang had underestimated his opponent and did not have the time to display his full strength. Secondly, the level of the divine weapon used by Su Yu was too high. In essence, it was almost the same as using an emperor-level talisman. Now that the two of them had agreed not to rely on powerful magical treasures, the Pear King was worried about Su Yu. After pondering for a moment, he sent a voice transmission and warned sternly, "Proud minister, no matter how much you desire victory, you can only lose this battle." What if she defeated Su Yu and he flew into a rage out of humiliation? Ao Xiang sneered arrogantly, "Don't worry, he won't die. I will stop at the right time and declare it a draw." "Are you ready?" Proud Xiang asked. Su Yu pulled out the Shura sword and placed it in front of him. "Let's begin." Seeing that Su Yu had taken out a true emperor-level divine weapon, Ao Xiang was relieved and said, "This is a fair fight. Then, let's begin." Whoosh 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 whoosh. The small green swords in his palms immediately attacked. Su Yu swept his sword horizontally. It was extremely heavy, and the Azura sword was almost sent flying. He stared at the chains wrapped around the small green sword. It should be because of Ao Xiang's powerful divine power. One sword fell, and another came. After a few consecutive strikes, Su Yu realized that something was amiss. The small green swords were produced endlessly, like a stream of water that would never be cut off. What was even more strange was that the frequency of the small green sword stabbing at him was getting higher and higher, and its power was also getting stronger. This should be the power of the Grand Tao laws, he grasped. Su Yu had already started to feel strained after blocking a few sword strikes. If he continued to block them, he might not be able to withstand them. Seeing that Su Yu could only defend himself and not retaliate, Ao Xiang laughed coldly. "Why don't we stop here? I am worried that I will injure you later." For a divine technique like the Proud Heart Sword Song, one could either counterattack from the very beginning or avoid it from afar. If he was caught in it, he would only become more and more passive and eventually die under the sword. 90% of the reason Su Yu was able to resist until now was because of the Azura sword. The quality of this sword was extremely high. Normal true Emperor-grade divine weapons would have long been destroyed by this small azure sword. The Pear King also smiled and said, "Why don't we stop here? Mr. Su's strength is outstanding, and we can all see it for ourselves. Let's not hurt our relationship, hee. The north-gazing pearl secretly despised it. As expected, I don't believe that one of second brother's 9 symbols can be defeated so easily. Suyu blocked the sword once again, and another small green sword attacked him at an even faster speed. I've almost reached my limit, Suyu muttered to himself. Ao Xiang chuckled. Don't be discouraged. You have been able to resist for so long. Not bad. Suyu shook his head and said, I am testing how long I can fight you without fighting back. About a dozen breaths. When he finished speaking, Suyu's temperament changed abruptly. He quickly infused the Azura sword with divine energy. Before the sword style was executed, an exceptionally powerful sword energy rushed out of Suyu's pores. Heaven's slashing sword! Suyu shouted. The long sword in his hand shot out tens of thousands of feet of sword energy, shooting straight into the sky. For a moment, the wind and clouds surged, and the world lost its light. It was originally daytime outside the hall, but now it was pitch black. It was as if the heavens were afraid of something and were hiding. Only the tens of thousands of feet of sword energy was incomparably dazzling, and the sword slashed down. Creak! It was as if a thunderbolt had flashed across the world, and the whole world was swept away by the sword energy. The sword light flashed, and the world was restored to light. However, Ao Xiang stood where he was, and the small green sword in his hand that should have been shooting out continuously seemed to be frozen, motionless. This is the end, Suyu said lightly. Clang! The small swords that were frozen in place fell to the ground with a clatter. Creak! The clothes on Ao Xiang's body were even split into 2 from the middle, turning into 2. A bright line of blood spread from Ao Xiang's forehead to his lower body. If it had gone any deeper, Ao Xiang would have been cut in half. Huang Fuliang's eyes shone brightly. He believed that Suyu would win, but only if he used the royal dragon sword. It was unexpected that Suyu had hidden such a move. He had defeated a half-heaven and earth divine warrior with only his sword skills. Huang Fuliang could not help but be deeply moved by such a talent. At least when he was the Golden Overlord, he did not have the ability to defeat a half-heaven and earth divine warrior. What about Suyu? Not only did he win, but he also deliberately gave Ao Xiang a dozen breaths' time. Otherwise, Ao Xiang would have been defeated in the beginning. Zhuji was delighted. So the sword that caused the heaven and earth vision was him. My husband really hid his strength well. On the other hand, the Pear King and the north-gazing pearl were shocked. If the last time did not count, then this time, Ao Xiang had been utterly defeated. While the Pear King was shocked, he was relieved. Fortunately, Ao Xiang was the one who had lost. Haha, Mr. Su, you are a great talent. Ao Xiang is far inferior to you, the Pear King said respectfully. Suyu drew a flower with the sword and kept the Azura sword. He was not arrogant at all. He is just one of Bei Wangchen's 9 xiangs. Even if he is a great talent, then what is Bei Wangchen? The Pear King was stunned. Bei Wangchen? What kind of existence was Bei Wangchen? In the entire Du Empire, apart from the prince of the Eastern royal family, who was qualified to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, this kind of person had surpassed the category of a genius. Of course, he would not point it out. He smiled embarrassedly. Regardless, Mr. Su is a well-deserved Great Void Hidden Dragon King. Since our mission has been accomplished, we shall not stay any longer. Farewell. Since Suyu had accepted his item, it meant that he had agreed to spare their lives. The Pear King took the north-gazing pearl and pressed on Ao Xiang's shoulder, preparing to leave. Wait! However, Suyu suddenly spoke. You can leave, and so can Ao Xiang, but she cannot. Suyu pointed at the north-gazing pearl. The Pear King was shocked. Mr. Su, what do you mean? Hee. Suyu said meaningfully, I need one of you to stay and show him around the Constellation Seas civilization. They understood Suyu's intention. He wanted to keep one of them as a hostage to prevent them from committing the crime again. The Pear King was the divine warrior of the world. Keeping him as a hostage would be a disaster. Ao Xiang was just one of Bei Wangchen's Ao Xiangs. He could be sacrificed at any time. As for the north-gazing pearl, Mr. Su, she is just the housekeeper of the Beixin Prince's mansion. How is she qualified to accompany you? The Pear King asked. Su Yu smiled calmly. Housekeeper? What kind of housekeeper can accompany the previous Beixin Prince? What kind of housekeeper is she? She doesn't look like a housekeeper in front of you at all? I think she is also a member of the Beixin family, right? Moreover, she is a very important member. Su Yu had suspected the girl's identity when they met in the Beixin land. Now, he was even more certain. The Pear King said, Mr. Su, why don't you let Ao Xiang stay? Su Yu said calmly, someone, please invite the princess of the Beixin Prince's mansion to rest. Zhu Ji pursed her lips into a smile and hooked the north-facing pearl over with her finger. Su Yu's fair finger stroked the north-facing pearl's tender skin. He then said mockingly, what a beautiful little girl! Even I feel sorry for her. Why don't you come to my corpse clan to rest? The Pear King wanted to stop him, but Su Yu's calm voice rang in her ears. If the Pear King also wants to stay as a guest, I will welcome you. The hidden threat made the Pear King's heart tremble. She pressed on Ao Xiang's shoulder and flew away with a gloomy look on her face. Ancestor! The north-facing pearl cried out in despair. She had never expected that this trip, which was supposed to go smoothly, would end up with her as a hostage. When the people heard her cry out, they all smiled knowingly. They couldn't help but look at Su Yu with admiration. His eyes were really sharp. He had actually seen through this woman's true identity. Miss North-Facing, don't worry and stay. Zhu Ji said with a faint smile. We won't mistreat you. After the commotion subsided, Su Yu asked Huang Fu Liang, can I borrow a training room from the General Cabinet Master? Haha, come with me. Huang Fu Liang led Su Yu to his exclusive training room. When there was no one around, Huang Fu Liang said, you want to know about the blood crystal Bodhi, don't you? Su Yu nodded. Yes, I do. What is it? It was because of Huang Fu Liang's words that Su Yu accepted it. Ha ha ha, I have to say that you have gained something good this time. Huang Fu Liang said. The blood crystal Bodhi is a divine item unique to the blood crystal clan, a third-rate clan. It can only survive if it is watered by the blood of the blood crystal clan. It has only one use, which is to increase the cultivation of the overlord level. Su Yu frowned slightly. The blood crystal Bodhi isn't the only divine item that can increase the cultivation of the overlord level, right? Why is it so revered? Huang Fu Liang laughed. That's what I want to say. The blood crystal Bodhi has a special additional function, which is to enhance the overlord's cultivation of the Great Path rules. What? Su Yu was shocked. If the overlord wants to break through the shackles and become the divine warrior of the world, the only way is to forge the Great Path rules in the inner mansion. So you can imagine how powerful the blood crystal Bodhi is. Huang Fu Liang said. Even the blood crystal clan rarely gives this item away. The other clans can't wait to get it. Su Yu was surprised. He didn't expect the blood crystal Bodhi to have such a magical effect. No wonder Ao Xiang was so reluctant to give it away. Strange, then why does the Du Empire have the blood crystal Bodhi? Huang Fu Liang pondered. I think it's because the Eastern royal family has a trace of the blood crystal clan's bloodline, right? As far as I know, the Eastern royal family never gives away the blood crystal Bodhi. Ao Xiang has one, which shows that he is valued by the Eastern royal family. You should use this Bodhi as soon as possible. Don't let them take it back. Chapter 1767. At the same time, it was a boundless, silent void. Ravenous Wolf drove the meteorite aimlessly into the distance. His face was dejected. Alas! One wrong move and the whole game was lost. If I hadn't betrayed the starry pavilion, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Thinking of Suyu, Ravenous Wolf felt sorry. It's a pity that the chief pavilion master couldn't tolerate me, so I had to leave the constellation sea. Otherwise, if I followed Suyu, I might have a chance to meet the legendary Pathmaster. While he was lamenting, there was a rumbling sound in front of him. A huge meteorite, comparable to the entire constellation sea civilization, pressed down on the void and hurried over. Ravenous Wolf gasped. My God, such a huge meteorite? It was the first time he had heard of such a ridiculously huge meteorite. Looking over, on the huge meteorite, there were many beautiful figures of women in red robe. Each of their faces was covered by a different color of light, revealing only their beautiful and attractive bodies. However, with just a glance, Ravenous Wolf shivered and drove the meteorite away. Because he couldn't see through the cultivation of any of the 20 women on the meteorite. As the overlord of the glazed crystal, he could see through even half of the divine warriors of heaven and earth. However, when he glanced at the 20 mysterious women, it was as if he was sweeping through an abyss. He couldn't see through them at all. He had followed the chief pavilion master for many years and often met the 3 pavilion masters. He was very familiar with this feeling. They were the divine warriors of heaven and earth. More than 20 divine warriors of heaven and earth? In particular, 2 of them gave him the same feeling as the chief pavilion master, which made him tremble. The last one made him feel even more inexplicable fear. However, the strange thing was that when he dodged to the side, the huge meteorite changed direction with him and crashed straight towards him. Ravenous Wolf broke out in a cold sweat and dodged in panic, but the huge meteorite crashed straight into him. Boom! The meteorite under his feet was shattered on the spot. Ravenous Wolf was horrified. There was nothing around him. Once he fell into the void, even the divine warriors of heaven and earth would die. At the moment when the meteorite under his feet shattered, a mighty force came from the huge meteorite, wrapped Ravenous Wolf up, and flew him to the huge meteorite. Just as he steadied himself, dozens of powerful auras that could easily crush him enveloped him. Tan Lang couldn't help but kneel on the ground and raise his head in fear. More than 20 sovereign realm experts were right in front of him. Say, seniors. Greed was the mystic crystal overlord, but he couldn't speak clearly at this moment. More than 20 mysterious women didn't say a word. The silent atmosphere was so oppressive that Greed almost fainted. You mentioned Suyu. Among the 20-odd mysterious women, there were 2 whose whole bodies were glowing with purple light. One of the women with purple light asked indifferently. Her voice was melodious and pleasing to the ear, but there were no fluctuations of emotion in it. Tan Lang, who had thought that he would surely die, suddenly had an idea. Suyu? Do they know Suyu? Ravenous Wolf was saved from death's door. He hurriedly said, Yes, yes. I'm his bodyguard. The lady in purple light asked, Then, is he still in the sea of constellation civilization? Yes, yes, yes. He was instructed by the Daelord's master to stay in the subjugation crusade to train himself. Tan Lang threw out the word Daelord in a timely manner. No matter if he was an enemy or a friend, he would be wary of him. Daelord's master? As expected, the 2 purple-clothed women looked at each other, then at the lady with golden light who was at the forefront. She was the leader of this group of mysterious women. The lady with golden light was indifferent for a moment. Then, she took out a picture scroll. The picture scroll depicted a woman with an unparalleled figure. Her face was covered by 9-colored divine light, so her face couldn't be seen clearly. Seeing this woman, Tan Lang hurriedly said, Yes, it's him. Suyu's master. The lady with golden light flicked her wrist and put away the picture scroll. Then, she glanced at Tan Lang indifferently. The lady in purple behind her walked over and said in a melodious and pleasing voice, All right, you should go down now. Go down? Tan Lang was dumbfounded. You smashed my meteor, and then you want me to go down? We don't welcome men, the lady in purple said indifferently. She stepped forward and waved her hand, sending Tan Lang flying down with a great force. Falling into the void, Tan Lang didn't even have time to scream before he was swallowed up by the void. Then, the lady with golden light said indifferently, "Continue." The meteor adjusted its direction slightly and sped along the original direction. That direction was none other than the Sea of Constellations. Su Yu, who was completely unaware of this, was still in seclusion. After Huang Fu Liang left, Su Yu quietly spat out the crystal bodhi that had been in his mouth. Haha, it would be a great waste for me to swallow a divine plant object just like that. Su Yu carefully pushed the blood crystal bodhi away. Within the bodhi meat there were 4 black spots the size of sesame seed. There really is one. The bodhi seeds. Su Yu smiled and peeled off the 4 seeds, throwing them to the little Kylin. Bury them in the supreme growing soil, and we'll see the results in a few days. If he could mass-produce the blood crystal bodhi, it would be interesting. The little Kylin responded and went into the 9 jade spiritual pearl with the seeds in its mouth. Su Yu tossed the bodhi meat into his mouth. A sweet and sour taste mingled in his mouth, and then turned into a burning sensation, followed by a bitter taste. The strange taste filled his mouth and flowed down his throat all the way to his abdomen, then into his inner mansion. The inner mansion began to expand violently, bit by bit, and it was extremely obvious. Su Yu was delighted. The effect is really good, it's immediate. Several hours later, when the effect of the medicine began to fade, Su Yu's inner mansion had expanded to a certain extent. All of a sudden, an explosion rumbled in his soul. Su Yu's inner mansion seemed unable to withstand the expansion and exploded with a loud bang. After the explosion, a huge amount of divine energy flowed into Su Yu's body and began to form a new inner mansion wall. The whole process lasted for half a day before the new inner mansion was completely formed. It was 3 times the size of the Golden Overlord's inner mansion, and the amount of divine energy it could contain was also several times greater. Clenching his fists, his bones were full of divine energy. Su Yu felt that it was inexhaustible. The divine energy of the glazed crystal overlord is more than 10 times stronger than that of the bronze overlord. Su Yu thought to himself, if I were to use the royal dragon sword again, it would be effortless. The only pity was that Su Yu's body contained very little dragon blood, and the power of the royal dragon sword was less than 1/10,000th. If only I could find a way to get the dragon's divine blood, Su Yu pondered. After finishing his training, Su Yu left the secret chamber. Huang Fu Liang sensed it and immediately teleported over. After a brief look, he said with a smile, "Congratulations, you've been promoted again." Su Yu replied humbly, "In front of you, there's no need to talk about promotion. Brother Su, you don't have to be so humble. When I was your age, I was only a bronze overlord," Huang Fu Liang praised him. He turned his eyes and seemed to be hesitating. After a long while, he made up his mind and said, "Brother Su, with your talent, with all due respect, living in the small civilization of the Sea of Stars will only bring shame to your talent." Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. Did he have something to say? "I hope you can go to a wider world, and don't let your talent go to waste." Huang Fu Liang's expression was complicated. As expected, Su Yu said, "Senior, please speak your mind. Given our relationship, there's no harm in speaking your mind." With that, Huang Fu Liang said slowly, "Have you ever doubted my identity?" Su Yu was silent for a moment, then slowly nodded. "Of course. A barbaric civilization like the Sea of Stars really doesn't have the potential to nurture a two-headed civilization. If I'm not mistaken, you're a visitor from an extraterrestrial civilization, right?" "As expected, I can't hide it from you." Huang Fu Liang nodded, his face solemn. "That's right, I'm not from the Sea of Stars. To be precise, the 3 cabinet masters and I are all from the extraterrestrial world, and we're the ones who founded the Starry Pavilion in the Sea of Stars. Su Yu's eyes flickered. We're here on the orders of the faction to find a corpse. Huang Fu Liang revealed his purpose. He actually had a faction? What kind of faction was qualified to accommodate a two-headed emperor? At least, the Du Empire didn't have such a qualification. He looked at Su Yu and said, "We already have some clues about that corpse. Many years ago, we sent a message to the faction and asked them to send someone over. However, for some unknown reason, after hundreds of years, no one from the faction has come." Su Yu was surprised. "Then why didn't you send someone back to the faction to investigate?" A bitter smile crossed Huang Fuliang's lips. "I did, but it was still like a stone in the ocean. Then there was a problem." So? Su Yu had already guessed what Huang Fuliang was going to say. Huang Fuliang took out an identity nameplate formed from the yin and yang energies. What pure yin and yang energies? Su Yu was secretly amazed. To be able to maintain the two energies without dispersing, it was obvious that they were in an unusually delicate state of balance. At least, Su Yu didn't think he could reach such a level. "So, I hope you can replace me and go to the 5-star civilization, the Tai Chi faction. First, report the situation here for me, and second, hold my identity nameplate. When you meet my uncle, he will understand what I mean and accept you into the Tai Chi faction." 5-star civilization. Su Yu's heart thumped. Such a powerful civilization was far superior to the civilization of the Du Empire. However, Su Yu still had doubts. Was he suitable for the legacy of the Tai Chi faction? As if he had seen through his thoughts, Huang Fuliang had a faint smile on his face. "Moreover, I feel that you are fated with the Tai Chi faction." "Why do you say that?" Su Yu rubbed his nose. He couldn't see how he was fated with the Tai Chi faction. Huang Fuliang smiled. With a pinch of his hand, a mass of yin and yang energies gathered in his palm, transforming into a pair of black and white wings. Su Yu was stunned. Then, the yin and yang energies in his body appeared uncontrollably, revealing the true form of the yin-yang wings of the Tai Chi, yin-yang wings of the Tai Chi. Huang Fuliang said, "It is indeed an item left behind by eldest senior brother. The first time I saw you, I found it familiar. No wonder." Su Yu was stunned. "This yin-yang wings of yours is a true emperor-level divine weapon unique to the Tai Chi faction. My uncle extracted the divine bones of an emperor and forged them personally. There are 3 of them. The owners of the other 2 are still in the faction. Only one of them disappeared with its owner into the vast void. He was my eldest senior brother, the Tai Chi divine warrior. I'm curious, where did you get this yin-yang wings of the Tai Chi?" Chapter 1768. However, when Su Yu first discovered that Huang Fuliang was proficient in both yin and yang, he had thought about it. Hence, although he was surprised, he could accept it. It was in a secret space. "I tried my best to escape." Su Yu did not mention Tao Tai. Huang Fuliang's eyes flickered with joy as he asked anxiously, "How is he now?" Su Yu's eyes darkened, and he pointed at the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. "If Senior Tai Ching was still alive, he wouldn't allow a junior like me to get his divine weapon." Sigh. The light in Huang Fuliang's eyes dimmed as he sighed lightly, and he said with reminiscence, "If he was still alive, then his cultivation would probably be far above mine. Unfortunately, he suddenly vanished in the boundless void while tempering himself all those years ago. Was it swallowed by the Taotai?" Su Yu thought to himself. This also explained the origin of the Tai Ching divine warrior. After thinking for a moment, Su Yu removed the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. "Since this item belongs to your faction, I shall return it to you." He was reluctant to part with it. This item had saved his life many times before. Although the effects weren't as good as before as the enemies they encountered grew stronger, it was still barely usable. "There's no need. Since you got it, then it's fate. Our Taiji sect values fate. We don't force anything." Huang Fuliang pushed it back and asked, How many levels of control have you mastered? Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. I obtained the control technique from the descendants of the Taiching divine warrior, 1,000,000,000 miles in one thought. It's the intermediate level. Huang Fu Liang said, the descendants of the Grand Clear Sovereign can only grasp the intermediate version at most, because the advanced version is in the Taiji Yin Yang Wings itself. Su Yu was greatly surprised. Is the Yin Yang Wings hiding a more advanced control technique? After so many years, how could he not know? Activating the advanced chapter requires the Dark Willow mantra that martial uncle passed down to me. Unfortunately, I've cultivated it before, so I can give it a try. Huang Fu Liang closed his eyes and chanted a mysterious incantation. A miraculous scene appeared. The Yin and Yang Qi on the Taiji Yin Yang Wings actually separated on their own, revealing a palm-sized gap. There was a jade-like skeleton inside. The divine bones of the divine warriors of heaven and earth? Su Yu was surprised. Huang Fu Liang opened his eyes and smiled. Sure enough, it's still here. He grabbed the skeleton with his hands that were covered in Yin and Yang Qi. Tiny words could be clearly seen on the skeleton. Take it. Huang Fu Liang passed it to Su Yu with a smile. You have the foundation of the middle volume. You will be able to comprehend the advanced volume just by scanning it once. Su Yu gave it a try on the spot. Sure enough, his comprehension was surprisingly smooth. As he weaved his palms together, Su Yu recited an obscure incantation. The yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole on his back suddenly expanded by 10 times. An unprecedented surge of yin and yang qi erupted. If Huang Fu Liang hadn't used a divine art to isolate the surroundings, the whole city would have been alarmed. How do you feel? Huang Fu Liang asked with a smile. Su Yu's eyes were filled with delight. It seems like I can immediately turn into the void and travel. Not to the point of virtual transformation, but you can still travel 10 billion miles with a single thought. Even I might not be able to catch up to you. Huang Fu Liang smiled. Su Yu was pleasantly surprised. So powerful? Wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted in the Du Empire and not be afraid of anyone? He then reminded, however, it's best not to use it unless it's absolutely necessary. With your cultivation as a profound crystal overlord, 10 breaths of time is enough to drain all of your divine power. So serious? Su Yu was shocked, and he remembered it deeply. After a moment of silence, Huang Fu Liang said, So, what do you think? Su Yu was still hesitant. After a pause, Huang Fu Liang said, The Tai Chi faction is full of geniuses and experts. Do you know what my status is in the Tai Chi faction? The Double Crown Emperor would be an extremely powerful existence no matter where he went. I'm just a core disciple. I'm not even a high-level official. Su Yu sucked in a breath of cold air. The Double Crown Emperor was just a disciple? What was the cultivation of the uncle he mentioned? What was the cultivation of the master of the Tai Chi faction? Seeing that Su Yu still hadn't made up his mind, Huang Fu Liang didn't rush him. He said gently, You can think about it. It won't be too late to answer in a few days. A few days? He was probably going to leave today. Although he didn't sense any danger, Su Yu really should leave now. The sinful lady's aura that the little Kylan had warned him about was still a hidden danger. The Pear King Emperor's corpse had been lurking for a few days and hadn't found Su Yu, so it must have given up and left. I might not join the Tai Chi faction, but if it's along the way, I can go to the Tai Chi faction on behalf of the Chief Cabinet Master to take a look. Su Yu offered a compromise. Huang Fu Liang didn't try to persuade him any further. He sighed. All right, I respect your decision. Take my identity token, just in case you need it one day. Nodding, Su Yu accepted it. Are you ready to leave? Huang Fu Liang had a premonition. Su Yu nodded. Yes. My 2 friends might have left the civilization of the Sea of Constellations. I want to find them. Huang Fu Liang said, Then I wish you good luck. But don't you want to see your friends from the Starry Pavilion before you leave? Mu Tsanghai and Yan Changhong want to see you. Also, that child Shui Guanyin has been concerned about your situation. We'll have to say our goodbyes eventually. Why add to the sadness? Having been through so many separations, Su Yu was already indifferent. Huang Fu Liang tried to persuade him to stay. The former is fine. But the latter, if you leave now, I'm afraid you'll become her regret. Su Yu smiled, but still shook his head. If we're fated, we'll meet again. Watching Su Yu leave, Huang Fu Liang sighed softly. That child Shui Guanyin has suffered. The corpse clan. Zhuji was interrogating the north-gazing pearl with great interest. Seeing Su Yu come in, she greeted him with a smile. Hee, my husband, this little girl is extraordinary. Not only is she deeply loved by the king of Beidong, but she's also the future wife of the prince of the Eastern royal family. Su Yu was surprised. He didn't expect the north-gazing pearl to have another identity. Oh, then let her stay in the barbaric civilization. With her as a hostage and the cultivation of the chief pavilion master, I believe the Empire of Du won't dare to mess around. Zhuji smiled mysteriously. I think it's better to bring her back to the Empire of Du. Why? Su Yu asked. Wouldn't bringing her back be like walking right into a trap? Zhuji giggled. I learned from her that something big is about to happen in the Empire of Du. How big is it? Su Yu asked. A 4-star civilization. The Dark Star civilization will send an emissary to attend in person. Su Yu was slightly curious. A 4-star civilization would send an emissary? That must be something big. Because the Empire of Du is about to be upgraded to a 3-star civilization, and the Dark Star civilization has sent an emissary to congratulate them. Su Yu was shocked. 3-star civilization? Did someone break through the shackles? A 2.5-star civilization wouldn't upgrade its star level for no reason. There must have been a drastic change. The only possibility was the birth of a super emperor, which enhanced the strength of the entire civilization. My husband is really smart. Zhuji's eyes were full of love. It's the monarch of the Empire of Du, Dongfang Xia, who has finally broken through to become a 3-crown emperor. 3-crown emperor? Su Yu's pupils constricted. He had heard long ago that there was a strong man in the Empire of Du who was close to becoming a 3-crown emperor. He didn't expect to break through so quickly. What does that have to do with us? Su Yu frowned. Zhuji said in surprise. Don't you know that when a civilization upgrades, the path rain will descend from the ecliptic palace? Any drop is full of the great path of heaven and earth. If you can absorb a drop, you can save years of crafting, and the great path rules will be born in the inner mansion. Only when a civilization is upgraded to a 3rd-level civilization will the path rain descend from the ecliptic palace. Such an opportunity can only be encountered once in hundreds of thousands of years. It's a great opportunity that can only be encountered by chance. My husband is now a glazed crystal overlord, and it's time to prepare for a breakthrough to the martial emperor. Su Yu was tempted. He knew that forging the rules in the inner mansion would take at least decades, and at most tens of thousands of years. One might not succeed even if he died of old age. Such an opportunity was indeed hard to come by. He believed that the overlord-level strong men in the vicinity would all rush to participate. This is also why the 4-star civilization sent an emissary to visit. Their purpose is also the path rain. I guess they will bring the overlord-level geniuses of the Dark Star to help them break through to the martial emperor of heaven and earth. Su Yu understood. He looked at the north-gazing pearl and asked, Why bring her? Zhuji giggled. The path rain is so precious, how can anyone participate in it? Without a referral, you won't be able to enter the scope of the path rain's grace. This person is the young princess of the north-gazing land, and the future princess of the prince. With her referral, you will have the opportunity to enter the path rain's grace. Now that he thought about it, it made sense. If the Path Rain's grace was available to everyone, wouldn't the Dew Empire be filled with emperors overnight? You don't have to worry about this little girl being disobedient. I have ways to make her drunk and listen to us obediently. Zhu Ji smiled strangely. Suyu was surprised. He couldn't help but look at the north-gazing pearl. He found that although her eyes were tightly shut, her long eyelashes were trembling. Her face was flushed, and her nostrils flared. Her breathing was rapid. A pair of slender, round, and slender legs were tightly clamped together. Suyu understood immediately. He couldn't help but frown. Using this method to control people is too despicable? Zhu Ji did not think much of it. I'm the zombie king who has committed all kinds of crimes. It's already very kind of me not to torture her to death. Moreover, it's letting her sleep with her lover in her dreams. It's letting her off easy. Suyu was rendered speechless by the rebuttal. Zhu Ji said with a smile, "Do you want to know who her dream lover is?" "I'm not interested," Suyu said angrily. Zhu Ji chuckled. "You'll never guess that her dream lover is none other than her second brother, Bei Wangqin." This was unexpected. Wasn't it against the rules of nature for a younger sister to fall in love with her brother? "So you don't have to worry. After she gets addicted, she'll beg me to help her enter the dream." Zhu Ji was very confident in her divine technique. Suyu hesitated for a moment and said, "Just this once." After a pause, Suyu said, "Then get ready. We're leaving the Sea of Constellations. The Corpse Clan will be ready at any time, as long as you agree." She had decided to follow Suyu and never leave him. Suyu looked at her deeply with a grateful expression. "Then, get ready to go." However, right at this moment, Zhu Ji suddenly raised her head and looked at the sky. Her playful expression quickly turned serious. The 8 Corpse Kings also appeared one after another, staring at the sky with grave expressions. "What's going on?" Many of the divine warriors of heaven and earth of the Living Spirit Alliance, including Huangfu Liang, appeared together. All of them looked solemn as they stared at the sky. It was as if they had sensed some terrible existence approaching the Sea of Constellations. Chapter 1769. Is it a crisis aimed at me? Suyu's eyes narrowed. However, the line of fate did not fluctuate at all. Based on experience, once a crisis came, the line of fate would fluctuate without exception. Strange. Suyu was suspicious. If there is no crisis, where does this oppression come from? After a moment of silence, Suyu said decisively, "Let's go." Years of prudence made him make a quick decision. Zhu Ji also felt that something was wrong and left with Suyu. Boom! The deafening roar shook the entire Constellation Sea civilization. A boundless black shadow quickly enveloped the sky above the Sea of Constellations, plunging the entire Sea of Constellations into a lightless darkness. "Who is it?" Huangfu Liang had a rare solemn expression on his face. With a loud shout, the majestic aura of the sovereign of heaven and earth soared into the sky, transforming into a dazzling sun that shrouded the sky above the Sea of Constellations. When they saw the object in the sky clearly, all the creatures were horrified. It was an immeasurably huge black meteorite. It was like a pot lid, directly sealing the entire Constellation Sea from top to bottom, and no one could leave. Divine warriors of double crowns? What a surprise! A voice as crisp as an aureole, but empty and cold, drifted down. 2 graceful women, whose faces were covered in purple divine light, descended from the meteorite together. Behind them, there were more than 20 beautiful women with yellow light masks. Dressed in cloaks, their long hair fluttered, and their bodies were peerless, giving people a strange sense of mystery. However, at this moment, the Corpse Kings and the divine warriors of heaven and earth present were not in the mood to appreciate this group of beauties. "All of them are divine warriors?" The pavilion master was shocked. Especially the 2 women in purple light, who bore the brunt of the attack, gave people a sense of suffocation. She had only felt that kind of feeling from the chief pavilion master. The chief pavilion master looked extremely solemn. "What business do you have visiting the civilization of the constellation C?" The two women in purple light turned a deaf ear to him, and their eyes swept around like torches, as if searching for something. The woman in purple light on the left suddenly sensed something and fixed her eyes on Suyu. With a shake of her sleeve, she shook out a delicate booklet and gestured to Suyu. "Then," she said calmly, "target found, capture immediately." Whoosh whoosh whoosh, behind him, more than 20 divine warriors of heaven and earth surrounded Suyu and the Corpse Clan. The people of the Living Spirits Alliance were extremely puzzled. There were more than 20 divine warriors of heaven and earth, and even 2 divine warriors of Double Crown divine warriors. Such a huge lineup was all for Suyu. "Stop!" Huang Fu Liang waved his sleeves, and the yin and yang qi turned into tai chi, protecting the corpse race in the center. He stared at them and said, "Who are you? Could they have been sent by the Diu Empire?" The Diu Empire was the only one that Suyu had offended before and could support such a lineup. However, it was the first time Huang Fu Liang heard that there were so many young and gorgeous female emperors in the Diu dynasty. "Diu Empire? Who is that?" The woman on the left said blankly. She stretched out her fair and slender index finger and lightly tapped on the Tai Chi diagram. In an instant, the Taiji yin-yang diagram shattered. Huang Fu Liang furrowed his brows. If the other party insisted on doing things his way, he could only speak with his fists. "I advise you not to get in our way. You can't afford to meddle in the affairs of the Sinful Lady Palace," the woman on the left said calmly. "Sinful Lady Palace?" Everyone present furrowed their brows. They had never heard of the so-called Sinful Lady Palace. Unexpectedly, Huang Fu Liang's pupils shrank and he gasped. "Sinful Lady Palace?" The woman said expressionlessly, "It seems you know what kind of place the Sinful Lady Palace is. Step aside." With light steps, the woman bypassed Huang Fu Liang and walked towards Suyu. "Come back with us." The woman made a grabbing motion in the air. All of a sudden, Suyu felt his limbs and bones were frozen, and his soul was imprisoned by an invisible force, unable to leave his body. No matter how many divine techniques Suyu had, he couldn't use any of them in the hands of the woman. "Who dares to touch my husband?" Zhuji's face fell. She was not afraid of the double-crowned emperor. She bit the tip of her tongue and spat out a mouthful of the corpse race's blood. With a sizzling sound, the blood corroded the invisible imprisonment. Only then did Suyu relax. The woman's face was calm. She made another grabbing motion in the air, imprisoning Suyu and Zhuji at the same time. This time, Zhuji couldn't even fight back. She was imprisoned just like Suyu. "Take them away," the woman said calmly after easily subduing the two. A group of red-robed heaven and earth divine warriors surrounded them. Right at that moment, Huang Fu Liang's eyes flashed, and he suddenly attacked. Great Light Technique. A powerful divine technique instantly shone upon the ladies of the Sinful Lady Palace, causing them to be stunned. The divine spell that the Lady of Purple Light used to subdue the two was interrupted. "Go!" Huang Fu Liang yelled. At this critical moment, he chose to fight against the Sinful Lady Palace to save Suyu. Suyu was surprised and touched. His heart was filled with mixed emotions, and they fermented into extremely complicated feelings. Why was Huang Fu Liang willing to sacrifice himself to help Suyu? "Don't hesitate. Go. If you have a chance to pass by the Tai Chi faction, tell Uncle that I, Huang Fu Liang, will always be the most loyal disciple of the Tai Chi faction." As soon as he finished speaking, the woman turned her head and said in a hollow tone, "Those who go against the Sinful Lady Palace will die." Swish. The woman was like a dream. She was still talking, but the next moment, she had already waved a section of the chain of rules. The speed was too fast for the emperors to react. Only Huang Fu Liang reacted almost at the same time and used the chain of rules to fight back. Ding! The sound of nothingness shook everyone's soul. The woman said calmly, The way of yin and yang. Well, you are a disciple of the Tai Chi faction. Very good, but you forgot that you are only one person. Titter. Another chain of rules whipped Huang Fuliang's back silently. Boom. Huang Fuliang was caught off guard and was hit by the chain. He was immediately attacked by the rules, and his body was overflowing with colorful energy. Chief Cabinet Master's desolation power is fading. That chain represents the path of punishment, the woman said anxiously. Huang Fuliang couldn't fight against two people at once, and he was facing the legendary Sinful Lady Palace. Why haven't you left yet? Huang Fuliang noticed that Su Yu and Zhu Ji hadn't left yet. Su Yu took out the royal dragon sword and said fiercely, "They came for me. There is no reason for you to bear the consequences for me." Zhu Ji stood by Su Yu's side, her eyes very firm. Huang Fuliang didn't know whether he should be relieved that he hadn't misjudged them, or annoyed that they didn't see the bigger picture. Suddenly, Huang Fuliang thought of something and his eyes flashed. "If you really want to help, give me that King Cauldron." "The Beixin King Cauldron?" Su Yu looked at Zhu Ji. "Chief Cabinet Master, catch it." Zhu Ji threw the King Cauldron to him without any reluctance. Huang Fuliang grabbed the small cauldron and wiped it with his big hand. A large amount of national destiny was extracted, almost 90% of the national destiny in the small cauldron. Holding the incomparably huge national destiny, which was 10 times the size of the civilization in the Sea of Constellations, Huang Fuliang formed a mysterious seal with both hands and bellowed, one breath into 3 pure ones. A shocking scene appeared. With the left and right halves of Huang Fuliang's body as the center, a complete Huang Fuliang appeared. Including himself, there were 3 Huang Fuliangs. Both their cultivation and aura were exactly the same. "I will send you out." Huang Fuliang's original body flew up into the sky, grabbing Su Yu and Zhu Ji with both hands. He shouted at the same time, "All the divine warriors of heaven and earth and corpse kings of the civilization in the Sea of Constellations, follow me." The 2 purple-clothed women were about to catch up, but they were stopped by Huang Fuliang's 2 clones. The clone's strength was exactly the same as the original body, and they were able to suppress the 2 purple-clothed women. How could the 8 corpse kings and the divine warriors of heaven and earth dare to hesitate? They followed Huang Fuliang and rushed out. Under Huang Fuliang's lead, the pressure brought by the giant meteor was broken, opening a way for the people behind to escape. In just 3 breaths, they arrived at the border of the Sea of Constellations and the Sea of Constellations. Limitless heaven and earth, yin-yang / Huang Fuliang attacked with all his strength, shattering the border of the Sea of Constellations and revealing a large gap. Charge! The group of people rushed forward and soon arrived at the gap. Huang Fuliang took the lead and crossed the gap, leading Su Yu and the others to escape. I didn't expect that apart from the few old monsters in the Tai Chi faction, there was someone who could cultivate the one breath into 3 pure ones. You are very talented. You must be one of the best in the Tai Chi faction, right? An indifferent voice of praise came from the meteor overhead. Huang Fuliang looked up and saw a woman in a red cloak standing calmly at the edge of the giant meteor. Her face was covered in golden light. Huang Fuliang's heart trembled when he saw her. 3 crowned divine warriors! Stay here. The woman in golden light said calmly. She didn't move, but the scenery around everyone changed at the same time. When they reappeared, they were in the ancient star, where they encountered the member of the Sinful Lady Palace. The 2 purple-clothed women were still fighting with Huang Fuliang's shadow, and they were equally matched. After the woman in golden light arrived, she looked at the 2 shadows indifferently. She flicked her slender fingers twice, and the strong shadow of Huang Fuliang collapsed at the same time. The purple-clothed woman broke free and bowed respectfully. "We are useless. Please punish us, young palace master." The woman in golden light said, "It's not your fault. The one breath into 3 pure ones of the Tai Chi faction is an ancient divine technique that even the sinful Lady Palace Master praised. It's normal that you couldn't defeat it. After that, she glanced at the many divine warriors of heaven and earth that she had brought back and said, Zi Ziguan, give each of them a holy pill. Zi and Ziguan were the 2 purple-clothed women. Without hesitation, they each took out jade bottles filled with white pills. Huang Fu Liang's eyes were full of fear. The legendary holy pill that can turn a man into a woman and make him forever be controlled by the sinful Lady Palace? What? The female divine warriors present were fine, but the male divine warriors' faces turned green. Zi took out a holy pill and came before the female cabinet master. She said calmly, "Open your mouth." The female cabinet master rolled her eyes and cupped her fists. "Sinful Lady Palace Master, if you want Su Yu, you can take him away. It has nothing to do with us." She had an unforgettable obsession with Su Yu. The woman in golden light looked up at her and glanced at her indifferently. The next moment, the female cabinet master emitted golden rays of light from inside out. Then, with a cracking sound, it was as if the inside of a piece of wood had been burned out, and it shattered into countless pieces. Connected to the soul and flesh, the female cabinet master was burned to death on the spot. Moreover, the female cabinet master did not even react. "I don't like bargaining. Do as I say or die," the woman in golden light said calmly. The many divine warriors swallowed hard. Facing the holy pill that Zi and Ziguan had handed over, they could only bite the bullet and swallow it. Suddenly, they, who had swallowed the holy pill, underwent a change. The woman was fine, but she felt a little pain. It was probably the discomfort caused by being controlled. But the men, including Huang Fu Liang, who were clearly men, all showed the characteristics of women. Not only did the lines of their bodies change, but even the characteristics of men quickly disappeared. Huang Fu Liang was originally a handsome young man, but he turned out to be a beautiful, fair-skinned, and beautiful woman in her 20s. The same was true for the Snow Dragon King, who had turned into a slender, graceful, and petite girl. The unimaginable scene shocked Su Yu so much that his eyeballs almost popped out. However, the changes of the male corpse clan were very small, and they still retained the characteristics of men. Reporting to the young palace master, the attributes of the corpse clan have restrained the holy attributes of the holy pill, and the medicinal effects are greatly reduced, Zi reported. The woman in golden light said indifferently, "Then lock up the corpse clan first." As for the living creatures, she had never heard of anyone who had swallowed the holy pill being able to escape the control. Yes. Zi accepted the order. Ziguan looked at the remaining living creatures of the Alliance of Living Beings and said, "Young Palace Master, what should we do with them?" The woman in golden light said without hesitation, "Search their souls to filter out useful information." Yes. Ziguan led the group of divine warriors of heaven and earth to search the souls of the living creatures present. With the divine warriors of heaven and earth being controlled, they had no room to resist. They all obediently followed the arrangements and accepted the soul search. The woman in golden light finally stared at Su Yu and said slowly, "Come to think of it, this is the second time I have come to the ancient star of the Sea of Constellations to find you." The second time? Su Yu's heart trembled. When was the first time? The woman in golden light walked up to Su Yu and said, "It's strange, isn't it? Why is your destiny sensing ability ineffective this time?" Perception. Su Yu suddenly remembered that when he was crossing the sky that day, he had a premonition that there was a crisis at the exit, so he left from another exit at the last minute to avoid the crisis. Could it be that time? In order to block this troublesome ability of yours, I specially went to the Yellow Path Palace and asked for the Taoist seal. No wonder Su Yu's destiny premonition had no warning when the crisis was approaching. Did the sinful lady order you to capture me? Su Yu's expression did not change. You are trapped in the Tao Tai's cage and you still can't stay still, humph. The golden light on the face of the woman in golden light suddenly fluctuated, and a ripple appeared in her calm tone. What? The sinful lady is in the Tao Tai's cage? Su Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at her coldly without saying a word. Tell me, where is the Tao Tai's cage? The woman in golden light was a little excited. The sinful lady of the sinful lady palace had lost the sinful lady for hundreds of millions of years. Finding the sinful lady was the dream of every member. Su Yu sneered. Give me a reason to tell you. Don't threaten me with death. If you really dare to make me stronger or search my soul, I will immediately erase this memory. You will never know where the cage is. The woman in golden light stared at Su Yu, thinking about something. Chapter 1770. The face of the golden lady shimmered, and Su Yu was sucked 3 feet away from her. Despite the golden light, Su Yu could feel a pair of ruthless, cold eyes staring at him without blinking. I don't like to bargain. The golden lady's tone was calm again. The fate of the lady was a warning. Who are his friends? The golden lady did not reply. The yellow lady, who was searching souls, immediately pinpointed a group of people according to the information. A group of divine warriors of heaven and earth was amazingly efficient. Within a few breaths, a group of creatures was picked out from the crowd. Mu Songhai, Yen Chonghong, and Blood Guanyin were among them. From left to right, kill them one by one until he opens his mouth. The golden lady ordered indifferently. Mu Songhai was on the left, and he smiled bitterly. Anyway, he died once. Let him die. As soon as he finished speaking, a head was tossed into the air, and blood splattered everywhere. Su Yu's heart was calm. Wasn't it just one death? At most, he could save her again. Next was Yen Chonghong, who was also killed. Only Blood Guanyin was left, and Su Yu was still silent, as if he had no intention of saying anything. Continue, the golden lady ordered. Blood Guanyin smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to say goodbye to brother Su Yu like this. I don't blame you. As soon as she finished speaking, she was mercilessly killed by the yellow lady. The 3 of them were Su Yu's best friends in the Sea of Constellations. Who would have thought that they would all be killed in such a short time? As the victim, Su Yu's face was tense, and he remained silent. The golden lady stared at Su Yu for a long time and said, Your heart is harder than a rock. After a long pause, the golden lady said, Make an exception this time. Tell me your bargaining chip. Remember, you only have one chance. She chose to compromise. Compared to rescuing the sinful lady, any bargaining chip was worth it. Only then did Su Yu grin. Release everyone, including me. The golden lady shook her head. Obviously, she refused Su Yu's request. As she said, Su Yu had lost the chance to continue negotiating. Lock him up and order the holy servant to guard him. The golden lady turned around and said coldly. The 9 corpse kings were imprisoned, and the 5 divine warriors had become the holy servant. How could Su Yu act rashly? Several divine warriors of the sinful woman palace stepped forward, restrained Su Yu's divine energy, and brought him back to the fallen star. Yun Xing didn't leave immediately. Instead, he remained in the sky above the Sea of Constellations, waiting for the soul search to end. Clang. Su Yu was imprisoned in the meteorite prison. The stone prison itself was not sturdy. What was sturdy was the saintess waiting outside. They were the emperors who had swallowed the holy pill and turned into females. Hey, Su Yu, it's not that we don't want to save you, but once we have that thought, the young palace master will immediately detect it, one of the cabinet seniors said helplessly in an awkward, feminine voice. Su Yu looked over. She was supposed to be a mature and resolute middle-aged cabinet master, but now she had turned into an old woman who still retained her charm. Su Yu couldn't help but find it funny when he compared his previous appearance. The sinful lady palace really hates men. Su Yu realized. The empress of the sinful woman palace with peerless figures was most likely transformed from a man. Su Yu felt a chill run down his spine as he thought about how they used to be strong men. The cabinet senior's face alternated between green and red. Avoiding Su Yu's gaze, he said, "Anyway, I'm afraid I can't help you." Even if he would rather sacrifice himself and risk being executed by the sinful Lady Palace, he would still alert the young palace master with unfathomable power. Su Yu said seriously, "What are you talking about?" "The sinful Lady Palace came for me. I should be the one feeling guilty for implicating all of you." Waving his hand, the cabinet senior sighed, closed his eyes, and sat cross-legged outside. "Cabinet Senior Lulan, you keep watch here. I'll be back soon." The Snow Dragon Empress had also transformed into a middle-aged woman. She was petite, and her face still had the domineering air of a man. The cabinet senior was shocked. "You left without permission, aren't you afraid the young palace master would find out?" "Humph. I'm just leaving for a while." The Snow Dragon Empress snorted, her ponytail swinging. She looked quite girlish, and both Su Yu and the cabinet senior were stunned. Wasn't the Snow Dragon Empress adapting to her female identity a little too quickly? Duh. As the light footsteps of the Snow Dragon Empress faded, Su Yu was lost in thought. He had never been imprisoned before, so how was he going to escape? Countless strategies flashed through his mind, but none of them were feasible. All the divine warriors were under the control of the young palace master. Their lives and deaths were at her beck and call. Any small movements would be immediately detected by the young palace master. It would be extraordinarily difficult to break through the siege and escape from the fallen star. In the face of absolute power, all conspiracies and plots are meaningless. Su Yu deeply agreed with this truth. The only fortunate thing was that they wanted to know the whereabouts of the sinful lady, so they would not dare to do anything to Su Yu for the time being. But that was all. As he was thinking, the Snow Dragon Empress came bouncing back. She beckoned and said mysteriously, "Cabinet Senior, come here. I have something to say to you." The cabinet senior was startled. What could not be said face to face? There was no one else here except for Su Yu. "Come here quickly." The Snow Dragon Empress stamped her feet and said coquettishly. Su Yu, who was watching from the sidelines, could not help but have goosebumps and feel disgusted. The cabinet senior rolled his eyes and walked over helplessly. "What's the matter?" Unexpectedly, just as he stepped within 10 feet of the Snow Dragon Empress, inky black corpse energy suddenly rose around him and enveloped him. The cabinet senior was shocked and subconsciously tried to break the corpse energy. "Don't move, this can block that woman's senses," the Snow Dragon Empress said in a low voice. The cabinet senior stopped in time and looked around at the corpse energy around him. He was inexplicably surprised. "How can you have corpse energy?" The Snow Dragon Empress smiled. "You should be asking me, why am I not afraid of the young palace master noticing that I have also swallowed the holy pill? Yes. Her actions here must have alarmed the Golden Lady. With the cultivation of the Golden Lady, she could have arrived here with a thought. Why did she not notice?" With a mysterious look on her face, the Snow Dragon Empress opened her mouth and spat out a pill that was tightly wrapped in corpse energy. It was the holy pill that the Snow Dragon Empress had swallowed. It had been suppressed by the corpse energy and had not been able to melt into her body. The cabinet senior was aghast and said, You were not transformed? Then your body." Gazing at the petite and lovely body of the Snow Dragon Empress, the cabinet senior was incredulous. "Humph, this is my original body? What's so strange about it?" The Snow Dragon Empress laughed, her whole body surging with an incomparably dense corpse energy. Such a dense corpse energy could only be achieved by the Corpse King. "You are." The cabinet senior was shocked. "You are the Corpse King?" The third emperor born in the Sea of Constellations, the ruler of the northern Snow Sea, was actually the Corpse King of the Corpse Clan. What was even more shocking was that after so many years, no one, including the chief cabinet master, had been able to detect her true identity. The sudden turn of events caused Su Yu to be stunned on the spot. But he quickly realized. Could you be one of the 3 corpse kings from 30,000 years ago, the undying boy? When Gu Xing first came to the Sea of Constellations, 3 powerful corpse kings appeared and almost destroyed the entire Sea of Constellations. One was the Emperor Corpse. The second was the Pearl Corpse King. The third was the mysterious undying boy, who was proficient in disguise. The most frightening was the undying boy. No one could see through his disguise, allowing him to disguise himself as anyone and easily assassinate the enemy's commander in the midst of an army of 10,000. But for 30,000 years, no one knew the whereabouts of the undying boy. Even the corpse kings did not know where he was. It was really unexpected that he was hiding in the alliance of living beings, and that he was one of the 3 great Earth Emperors of the Sea of Constellations. Haha, you don't seem surprised at all, do you? The Snow Dragon Empress looked over with a faint smile. Suyu was indeed not surprised. When I used your yin-yang hot spring, I should have realized that there was something wrong with your identity. When Suyu changed his appearance under the identity of Shuiyu, he borrowed the yin-yang hot spring. When he used it, there was a large amount of desolate power left in it. Now that he thought about it, it must have been accidentally left in the hot spring by the Snow Dragon Empress when she was maintaining her disguise. Of course, Empress Ziwei had also warned Suyu to be careful of the Snow Dragon Empress. As the disciple of the Snow Dragon Empress for many years, Empress Ziwei had never understood her master. She was like a dense fog that no one could see through. From all the signs, it was not difficult to guess that the Snow Dragon Empress was the undying boy. The Snow Dragon Empress crossed her small arms in front of her chest, dragging her steamed bun-sized breast. She said with a smile, "It's not without reason that Zhuji took a fancy to you. Smart." "That's right. I am the undying boy you call. 30,000 years ago, I disguised myself as the Snow Dragon Empress and infiltrated the alliance of living beings. My original intention was, of course, to be a spy for the Corpse Clan and stab you in the back at a critical moment." The Snow Dragon Empress did not shy away. "Unfortunately, things did not go as I wished. I have no place to use my skills, until now." After listening to her explanation, the cabinet master was stunned for a long time before he recovered. Then, what about the real Snow Dragon Empress? It was rumored that the Snow Dragon Empress had been a fallen overlord. After experiencing the ancient dream altar, she had advanced by leaps and bounds overnight and became the divine warrior of heaven and earth. This legend had inspired many creatures to train hard. The Snow Dragon Empress, or rather, the undying boy, curled her lip. He died tragically in the ancient dream altar long ago. Otherwise, do you think the birth of the divine warrior of heaven and earth would be so easy? The truth was so cruel. There was no legend of a one-night divine warrior. The cabinet master was dumbfounded. After a long while, he sighed in relief. No wonder we have studied it carefully. Although the ancient dream altar is rich in resources, it is not enough to support the birth of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. It turns out that you were just impersonating him. If that was the case, everything made sense. The undying boy dared to walk around freely without fear of the young palace master finding out. As a member of the Corpse Clan, he had a natural restraining power over the holy elixir. What's more, the undying boy was originally a woman. She shed her disguise and returned to the dignity of a woman, deceiving Ze, who was feeding her the holy elixir. Fine, if you have something to say, we can talk outside. The undying boy crushed the chains of the cage and let Suyu out. Chapter 1771. Then Cabinet Master. Suyu said. The undying boy shook his head helplessly without looking back. They have swallowed the holy pill and are under the control of that woman at all times. I can't save them, unless one day I have a cultivation that surpasses that of the young master. The difficulty of advancing from a 1-crown emperor to a 3-crown emperor might not be achieved in a lifetime. The only people I can save are the Corpse Clan, the undying boy said. Only the Corpse Clan could resist the power of the holy pill and not be controlled by the young master. Suyu could not bear it. Ha ha! The cabinet master looked up and laughed. We are under the control of others. Even if we escape, it will be useless. But Suyu, you are different. You have not swallowed the holy pill, so you still have a future. He bowed to the undying boy. Thank you, Undead Corpse King. Please take good care of Suyu. He is the only hope of the Sea of Constellations. As the Gaia Heaven ruler of the Sea of Constellations, he had great expectations of Suyu. Suyu felt a lump in his throat. Suyu, take care of yourself. Don't let the chief cabinet master down. After saying that, the cabinet master slapped his chest. Suyu did not stop him. He let him seriously injure himself and lay trembling on the ground. This was to confuse the sinful Lady Palace and make them think that Suyu had been rescued. I will be back. Suyu clenched his fists and followed the undying boy to the prison. As they walked, the undying boy took out a bottle of spirit liquid filled with yin and yang. It was the yin and yang hot spring. However, it was the core hot spring. Touching it rashly could easily affect the yin and yang in one's body. She opened her mouth and swallowed the whole bottle. Following that, his entire person underwent a tremendous change. Her bones lengthened, her facial features changed rapidly, and her figure changed subtly. In the blink of an eye, she became a completely different person. Young master? Suyu was surprised. Both her appearance and her aura were exactly the same. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Suyu would not have doubted that she was the real young master. At that moment, 2 caped emperors passed by the prison. Seeing the two, they were stunned at first, and then bowed to the ground. Greetings, young master. The undying boy even imitated the charm of her voice, which was hollow, indifferent, and emotionless. She didn't even bother to explain, and just left with Suyu. The 2 red-clad monarchs did not even dare to ask anything. Only when they were far away did they slowly get up and continue patrolling without any expression on their faces. Along the way, they encountered several groups of divine warriors of heaven and earth, and even the saint's servant who had just been summoned. But without exception, none of them had the slightest suspicion towards them. Just like that, they arrived at the edge of the meteorite without any mishaps. Shockingly, there was a small meteor that had been prepared in advance, hidden in a secret place. It was obvious that she had purposely set this up when she went out for a while. The undying boy pulled Suyu along as he leapt up. He took a deep breath and said, "Whether we can escape or not depends on this moment. Their giant meteorite must have an extremely advanced method of controlling it, but it's hard to say how advanced it is." Every meteor had been imprinted with the manipulation method of the 10,000 races by the Ecliptic Palace. If one was proficient in the language of a certain race, they would be able to use that race. I'm using the controlling hair of the Thunder Eagle clan, a middle-tier race. If we're more advanced than them, it'll be much easier for us to escape. Otherwise, they would die immediately. This was a gamble, but they had to take it. Think about it carefully. If you stay, they won't kill you for the time being. But if you escape and get caught, based on the way the young palace master acts, you'll be in grave danger. The undying boy stared at Suyu. Think about it carefully. Once this meteor starts to move, it'll definitely alert the young palace master. She left the choice to Suyu. If he made a wrong decision, they would die a horrible death. Of course we'll escape. As always, as long as there was a chance, Suyu wouldn't give up the chance to live. The undying boy stepped forward, activated the formation, and said, "Okay, then let's take a gamble. I hope my manipulation method is better than theirs." However, Suyu took a step forward and stood on the formation, saying, "However, I'll be the one controlling the meteor." The undying boy was taken aback. "Get out of the way or we'll both die." She never expected Suyu to act so recklessly at such a critical moment. As soon as the meteor moved, the young palace master was alerted. She broke out in a cold sweat and immediately stepped forward to stop Suyu. Unfortunately, Suyu had already moved. With a loud buzzing sound, the meteor started to move. It's over. The undying boy's head sank, and he wanted to die. Creak. Almost at the same time as the meteor started to move, a woman with a golden face descended almost instantaneously. She glanced at the situation on the small meteor and, without saying a word, made a grabbing motion in the air. Suyu and the undying boy were both imprisoned, and their bodies and souls couldn't move at all. I'm dead because of you. The undying boy was speechless. However, the next moment, the meteor under his feet flew out like lightning. That speed and agility made the undying boy dumbfounded. When they came to themselves, they were already hundreds of millions of miles away from the large meteor, and the suppression of the young palace master was greatly weakened. The Light Wings Lightning Flash technique of the Heavenly Wings clan, a third-rate race? The undying boy quickly recognized the name of the manipulation method, and his eyes were full of horror. Although the Great Beginning Realm had a common Great Beginning language, each race had its own inherited language. The inherited language was never taught to outsiders, and the higher the level of the race, the more so. How could she not be surprised that the language of a third-rate race like the Heavenly Wings clan was mastered by a small overlord? The young palace master was also caught off guard and grabbed nothing. You are indeed the person whom the palace master wants to capture, and you even know the language of the Heavenly Wings clan that has never been taught to outsiders. The young palace master's calm tone had a slight ripple. However, it was only a slight ripple. She turned around and returned to the center of the meteor, and immediately activated the meteor. Boom! 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 The deafening roar that oppressed the heavens filled the entire world of nothingness with echoes. The seemingly enormous meteor flew out instantly with a boom. Its speed was no less than that of the small meteor. The undying boy sensed the huge movement behind him and turned around to look. He was almost scared to death. How can such a huge meteor be so fast? If he had been the one controlling the small meteor just now, he would have been caught up in an instant. Fortunately, Suyu had mastered such a high-level manipulation method. She looked at Suyu with deep curiosity in her eyes. What kind of man is he? Is he unable to widen the distance between them? Suyu weaved signs with both hands, and a pair of enormous yin-yang wings flashed behind him. As the wings flapped, together with the small meteor under his feet, they flew 10 billion miles away in an instant. The huge meteor behind him had disappeared without a trace. The undying boy was shocked again. What a powerful yin-yang escape technique. I'm afraid even the Double Crown Emperor won't be able to catch up with you. The amazing thing was that it could bring the small meteor along with it. Although the young palace master was strong, no matter how strong she was, could she teleport with the entire huge meteor? Suyu was secretly amazed. It was indeed the high-level technique of the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. It was indeed powerful and extraordinary. However, as Huang Fu Liang said, it consumed an unprecedented amount of divine power. In just one move, Suyu's divine power had been depleted by 10%. Glancing behind him, he could no longer see the huge meteor, but Suyu could still feel the feeling of being locked on from afar. Without thinking, Suyu teleported 5 times in a row, crossing a distance of 50 billion miles. The feeling of being locked on was much weaker, but it still existed. At such a long distance, coupled with the weak perception, the other party might not be able to catch up. But in the face of the Triple Crown Emperor, how could Suyu dare to have a trace of carelessness? The 7th flap, another 10 billion miles away. Suyu's divine power had fallen to 30%, but the indistinct feeling of being locked on was still there. Suyu did not hesitate and used the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole for the 8th time. At this moment, the feeling of being locked on finally disappeared. The undying boy's perception was even more acute, and he said, "The Triple Crown Emperor is indeed terrifying. Even at such a long distance, he can still leave a trace of being locked on." There's more? Her perception was stronger than Su Yu's. Gritting his teeth, Su Yu used the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole for the 9th time. Is there more? Su Yu's face was pale, his forehead full of sweat, and his whole body was sore and weak. He could collapse to the ground at any time. With only the last 10% of his divine power left, it was only enough for him to maintain basic movement, and he had no more combat power left. The lock has completely disappeared. The undying boy heaved a sigh of relief, his face full of relief. I never dreamed that we could escape from the pursuit of the Triple Crown Emperor. She still felt like she was in a dream, and it felt surreal. Swoosh. However, at this moment, an obscure gray beam of light pierced through the incomparably long distance of nothingness, accurately aimed at Su Yu, and shot out in an instant. The gray beam of light came quickly and abruptly. By the time the undying boy realized it, the gray beam of light had already penetrated Su Yu's chest. Boom! In just an instant, a huge hole appeared in Su Yu's chest. Balls of gray flames started spreading from Su Yu's chest in all directions. Everything that the flames touched turned into stone. Oh no! It's the rule of the great path of petrification. I have to stop it, or you will be completely petrified. The undying boy's face changed drastically. Quick, soul ejection, there's no other choice. No one had expected the young palace master to be able to unleash such a powerful attack from such a distance. Su Yu clenched his teeth and soul ejection again. Did he have to seize another body and start training from the beginning again? Swish. Su Yu took out the silver fruit and tried to absorb the extraordinary petrification rule. It did work, but it was unusually slow, and he could not absorb it immediately. The remaining petrification rule was still slowly seeping into the rest of his body. He had to concentrate on absorbing it immediately, or he would be in danger. However, he still had to control the meteorite. Once he stopped, the young master would catch up to him again. There's a civilization there. The undying boy understood Su Yu's situation. He looked up and saw a civilization full of dust and sand floating in the nothingness. Su Yu did not hesitate at all. He immediately controlled the meteorite to land on that dust and sand civilization. Boom! The meteorite landed on the civilization, and the deafening sound shocked the entire civilization. Countless strong men rushed over upon hearing the news. The undying boy sensed it and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this is a barbaric civilization, and there are not many divine warriors of heaven and earth. She was worried about what was behind her. Even though they had escaped the lock, the young master would soon discover the existence of the dust and sand civilization if he followed this path. Chapter 1772. After Su Yu landed on the ground, he immediately used his remaining divine energy to stop the petrification rules from spreading to his limbs and bones. The divine power in his body surged and flowed through his meridians, fusing into his bones as he used all his strength to block the attack. In this way, the constant petrification was alleviated and slowly recovered. He needs at least 6 hours. Undying boy deduced. After pondering for a moment, he opened his mouth and spat out a bead filled with corpse aura. This was his portable space. As soon as he opened it, 9 demonic figures with monstrous corpse energy appeared. They were the 9 corpse kings. It turned out that other than arranging the escape route, Undying Boy had also taken the time to rescue the many corpse kings that were imprisoned. Husband, what happened to your injury? After Zhuji appeared, she immediately noticed that something was wrong with Su Yu, and she rushed over to him with concern. Undying Boy said gravely, "He was hit by the young temple master's law of petrification, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that if nothing unexpected happens, the young temple master will lose his patience and want to kill him." Looking at the empty, silent void behind him, the Undying Boy's eyes were grave. "With the speed of that giant meteorite, I'm afraid it will catch up with us before Su Yu recovers." Zhu Ji's eyes sharpened. "Then what are we waiting for? Aren't you proficient in middle-class manipulation techniques? Let's go. Shaking his head lightly, Undying Boy said, "The sinful girl palace master is proficient in the most top-notch manipulation technique. We will be chased after in less than 2 hours. Only his manipulation technique is comparable to hers." The expressions of the Corpse Kings changed. Was he supposed to wait for death here? "All of you should leave." Suyu, whose eyes were still closed, spoke with great difficulty. His expression was filled with pain. The Corpse Kings hesitated. Suyu clenched his teeth and shouted, "The sinful woman came here for me, and you are just collateral damage. Even if she captures me, she won't come here to capture you. We'll stay. We can't abandon our comrades in times of danger." Suyu shook his head. "What's the use of you staying here besides sacrificing yourselves for nothing?" Even the divine emperor of the Sea of Constellations had been easily subdued by the little hall master alone, let alone them. It could be imagined that with the little palace lord's nature, he would definitely not leave the Corpse Kings behind. He would definitely go on a killing spree and slaughter the 10 of them. There was really no need for them to stay. But the Corpse Kings couldn't bear it. Zhuji said, "Leave." "He's right. There's no point in staying." Not getting a response, Zhuji added, "If you still recognize me as your king, then listen to my orders." "What about you?" the Corpse King asked. She lowered her head and gazed at Suyu, who had his eyes closed. Her eyes were filled with happiness. "Ever since our Corpse King was reborn, he has been muddle-headed. He only knows how to choose the fire seeds to dispel his desire for revenge. He doesn't know the meaning of rebirth." The Corpse Kings felt the same way, and their eyes were filled with confusion. They had all thought about this question. Why did they come back to life? Was it just to quell their obsession for revenge? To them, life had no direction and no light. They could only follow their instincts and muddle along until the end of their lives. "I've been looking for a reason to keep going," Zhuji said as she leaned on Suyu's shoulder. She had a tranquil smile on her face. "I think I've found it." When he said, "So what if it's the heavens? Even the world can be abandoned," that's when I knew what I was living for. I'm living to accompany him to grow, flourish, decline, wither, and fall to dust like a slender vine. Even though his heart is straight to the sky, even though he won't look down at me, I'm willing and I have no regrets to accompany him through prosperity and his final fall." Her words were like snow, falling into the deepest part of the hearts of the listeners. A crystal tear rolled down from the corner of the Undying Boy's eye. She understood that Zhuji had chosen the end. She was buried in this moment with the man she loved and the man she had found in life. Her heart was filled with silent sorrow. She didn't know whether she should envy Zhuji for finding the meaning of life or mourn the death of her compatriot. "Go, all of you. Flowers bloom and wilt in an orderly manner. I've just chosen the most beautiful ending." Zhuji closed her eyes gently. She was like a falling flower on Suyu's shoulder. Her beauty was bleak and cold. Looking at this scene, the 10 Corpse Kings moved away silently, their eyes filled with sorrow and tears. This farewell would be forever. No one knew if there would be a next life. Even if there was, could they meet again? But no matter what, Zhuji had found her home. She had no regrets even if she died. Suyu opened his eyes slowly and looked into Zhuji's eyes. He said softly, "Open your eyes and look into my eyes." Zhuji opened her eyes slowly. What she saw was a pair of enlarged silver-gray pupils. In an instant, 2 lumps of dazzling silver-gray pierced into her eyes. Her brain was in extreme pain. Then, her head sank and her eyes fell into darkness. The Undying Boy woke up with a start. He turned around and saw Zhuji lying unconscious in Suyu's arms. A silver-gray firebird flew out of Zhuji's head and entered Suyu's eyes. "I'll leave her to you." Suyu picked her up and sent her to the fallen star. "You should understand her feelings. If you die, her life will be meaningless," the Undying Boy said. Suyu shook his head. "That's why I can't let her die with me. I'm not worthy of her sacrifice. His heart had never been with Zhu Ji. How could he bear the weight of her feelings? The undying boy was silent for a moment and nodded slowly. Okay, I can take her with me. But I can't guarantee whether she will seek death when she wakes up. Thank you. Su Yu cupped his fist. The undying boy looked at him deeply and said, You are indeed a unique good man. Zhu Ji didn't misjudge you. Then, farewell. The undying boy turned around and drove the fallen star away quickly. He turned into a speck of light and disappeared into the boundless nothingness. Watching them leave, Su Yu, whose injuries had stabilized a little, immediately left the place. The huge commotion caused by the falling star had attracted a lot of attention, especially from the divine warriors with keen senses. He believed that they were already on their way. After a few simple turns, Su Yu concealed his scent and leaped into an area filled with mountains and forests. Although it was called a mountain, there was no lush vegetation. There was only endless yellow sand. In such an environment, ordinary creatures couldn't survive. Even practitioners rarely came here. After all, spiritual objects couldn't grow here. After traveling for an hour and crossing half of a civilization, he finally found a jade-like oasis in the desert ahead. There were many strong men in the oasis, but the strongest one was only a glazed crystal overlord. After traveling for an hour, Su Yu had to stop and focus on recovering from his injuries. He took out the Azura sword and swept it across the place, creating a pit in the sand. Su Yu immediately leaped into it and continued to absorb the petrification law. Before long, a gust of wind blew past and buried Su Yu completely. After half an hour, several figures of practitioners rushed over and spread out to search. That's strange. I clearly sensed the scent of the glazed crystal overlord. Why did it suddenly disappear? A bearded man looked around. Guest leader, could it be a passing senior? A familiar voice floated over to Su Yu. The bearded man was displeased. Are you saying I sensed wrongly? No, I didn't mean that. It's just that the Tianlan Prefecture is forging the Mystic Moon Elixir. The most important thing is to defend against the invasion of the Tianlan Prefecture. It's best not to leave the Tianlan Prefecture for too long, the man said carefully, afraid to offend the person in front of him. The bearded man snorted. I don't need you to tell me. Since there's no one, let's go back. Just as the bearded man was about to leave, a trace of the petrification law leaked out. Even though Su Yu managed to control it in time, he was still discovered. Who's there? As the bearded man retreated, he took out his weapon and was on guard. Since he had been discovered, Su Yu decided not to hide anymore. With a shake of his body, he shook off the surrounding sand and revealed himself. Who are you? Why are you hiding in the Tianlan Prefecture? The bearded man was afraid that Su Yu was also a glazed crystal overlord, so he didn't attack recklessly. The Tianlan Prefecture, it sounded familiar. Are you benefactor? A fat man with sideburns cried out in surprise. Su Yu lifted his eyes and looked over, only to see a dignified youth staring at him in surprise. Is it really you, benefactor? The young man walked forward in disbelief. He felt like he was dreaming. Benefactor? Su Yu looked at the man carefully and found that he really did look familiar. I'm Tian Jian. My sister is Tian Rulan, and my guest is Li Chongqing. We were once helped by Benefactor at the ancient dream altar, the young man said excitedly. Su Yu finally remembered them. They were the 3 participants he had met at the central altar of the ancient dream altar. In the end, Su Yu gave them a piece of the golden flames forbidden wood and sent them away from the altar. He didn't expect that the 3 of them were not practitioners of the constellation sea, but creatures of the dusty sand civilization not far away. You remember me? That's great. If my sister finds out, she'll be very happy. Tian Jian walked forward and said happily. The bearded man frowned. Do you know each other? We don't just know each other. benefactor is the great benefactor of the Tianlan prefecture. It's because of him that we. Tianjian realized that he couldn't reveal that Su Yu had the golden flames forbidden wood, so he stopped talking in time. In short, benefactor is the savior of the Tianlan prefecture. Su Yu said, "That's too serious." Tianjian said enthusiastically, "Benefactor, why did you come to the Dusty Sand civilization? My sister and I were planning to go to the Constellation Sea civilization to look for you after we've dealt with the affairs of the Tianlan prefecture to repay you. It was an accident. A meteorite fell in the Dusty Sand civilization," Su Yu said vaguely. Tianjian laughed. "Could it be God's will? Did it happen to fall near the Tianlan prefecture? If that's the case, I sincerely invite you to come to our place for a talk." Su Yu thought about his own situation and realized that he really needed a safe place to recover from his injuries. Therefore, he agreed without any hesitation. "Thank you, Brother Tian." The bearded man put away his weapon and stared at the backs of the two of them. He frowned deeply. The oasis was actually quite large, about the size of the entire North Sea snow region. The strength of the area was complicated, with 7 or 8 influences of various sizes. Their overall strength was almost the same, but the Tianlan prefecture was slightly superior. Chapter 1773. 3 forces had secretly banded together, ready to take advantage of Tianlan Manor's weakness to swallow it whole. Fortunately, Tianjian and Tianrulan had accompanied Foreign Minister Li Chongqing to the Constellation Sea civilization and had accidentally obtained a piece of golden flames forbidden wood. They had invited the protection of Emperor Ku Exan, one of the 3 great emperors of the Dusty Sand civilization. Only then did they manage to intimidate the younger generation and defuse the danger. The bearded man, Yu Hong, was a direct disciple of Emperor Ku Exan. He had replaced his master to oversee the Tianlan Manor. That piece of golden flames forbidden wood had changed the fate of the Tianlan Manor. Hence, Tianjian was extremely respectful and grateful to Su Yu. "Brother Su, my sister also wants to see you, but she is refining a precious elixir and will need another hour. When she comes out, we will hold a feast for you." Hearing that Tianrulan was busy, Su Yu said, "There's no need for a feast. It would be nice if you could arrange a training room for me." He pointed to his chest, where the shocking wound was still there. "It was my negligence. I will arrange it for you immediately," Tianjian said solemnly as he glanced at the wound. Soon, Su Yu was arranged to enter a secret room. Outside the secret room, Yu Hong pondered. "Is this person reliable?" Tianjian only smiled. "Without him, there would not be the Tianlan Manor today. Let's go and protect Rulan. The divine moon elixir is about to appear." Tianjian's eyes were filled with anticipation. The divine moon elixir was the top elixir of the Dusty Sand civilization. It had unexpected benefits for the Overlord. After consuming it, there was a 90% chance that a Silver Overlord would break through to the Gold Overlord level, a 60% chance that a Gold Overlord would break through to the Crystal Overlord level, and a 10% chance that a Crystal Overlord would break through to the Peak Overlord level. It was miraculous. This elixir recipe was found by Emperor Ku Xian in the ruins of the Dew Empire. It was unique to him. This time, the Tianlan Manor had tactfully given them an extra reward, a semi-finished divine moon elixir. With a simple refinement by the Tianlan Manor, it would become a complete divine elixir. At the moment, Tianjian and Tianrulan were both silver overlords. They urgently needed to improve their abilities. One could imagine how precious this elixir was. "Second uncle, why are you here?" When Tianjian rushed back to the alchemy room, he found that Heaven Flowing Blade was also there. Heaven Flowing Blade was the prefecture lord's younger brother. Many years ago, during the struggle for the position of prefecture lord, he was chased away by Tianjian's father. He had wandered the Dust Sand civilization alone for many years, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This time, when Tianlan Manor was in danger, he received the news from somewhere and rushed back to help Tianlan Manor fend off the enemies. Although the war didn't happen in the end, Tian Lu Dao still cared about the Tianlan Manor. The Tianjian siblings couldn't chase him away, so they let him stay. He had the cultivation of a golden overlord, and could be considered a rare combat power of the Skyorkid Manor. Heavenly Flowing Blade was gentle and his face was pale. He nodded. How can I not keep an eye on such a big thing? Whether or not Tianlan Manor can have another golden overlord will depend on this pill. Tianjian smiled, but he felt a little strange. Could it be that after running away from home for so many years, second uncle never resented his father for banishing him? He always felt that second uncle was a little too enthusiastic towards them, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. At this time, the alchemy room was filled with a rich fragrance. Flickering lights seeped through the cracks in the door. The lights reflected in the eyes of the people outside, reflecting a different color. Bang! The sound of a furnace lid hitting the stone wall came from within. The expressions of the three people outside changed. The pill was done. Creak! The stone door opened and a beautiful young woman walked out, her forehead beaded with sweat. She held a bronze box in her hand. Inside was the mystic moon pill that had just been refined. Congratulations to the two of you, the mystic moon pill has reached large success. Yu Hong smiled, his gaze sweeping over the bronze box. Tianjian excitedly stepped forward, preparing to take a peek at the legendary mystic moon pill. Suddenly, a strong fog erupted in the hall. Not only did it block vision, but it also blocked all senses. Who is it? Yu Hong is here, who dares to cause trouble? Yu Hong discovered a strong enemy and struck out with a palm. There was a loud explosion as Yu Hong and a powerhouse fiercely collided. A series of footsteps echoed in the fog. Be careful, this person is extremely strong. He's a mystic crystal overlord. Protect the mystic moon pill. Yu Hong roared. But the enemy had come prepared. How could they fail? In the fog, Tian Rulan groaned in pain. She had been injured. Not good, the bronze box has been stolen. Tian Rulan exclaimed. Who is it? Tianjian was going crazy. Who could sneak into the Tianlan Manor without anyone knowing? Who could set up the fog in advance? Who could it be? Yu Hong shouted, seal all 5 senses. The Tian siblings and Tian Lu Dao sealed their senses. Roar! Yu Hong took a deep breath and exhaled together with pure god power, creating a huge sound wave radiation. In a few breaths, the nearby fog was swept away by the sound wave. Tian Rulan was lying in front of the secret room covered in blood. The bronze box in her hand was gone. Yu Hong was panting. He seemed to have fought with someone. His palms were red and showed signs of fighting. Tian Lu Dao's expression darkened as he gave chase. The others immediately gave chase. But after such a long time, there was no sign of the enemy. Tian Lu Dao walked over quickly and helped Tian Rulan up. He said, "Did you feel anything when that person attacked? Do you have any suspects?" The oasis was only so big. All the experts should have seen it. It's useless. Yu Hong's expression darkened. He clenched his fists, his eyes filled with anger. That person is a mystic crystal overlord. He's not from the Jadeite oasis. If it was a foreign mystic crystal overlord, Tian Rulan would not be familiar with him. She would not be able to deduce who did it. Tian Rulan shook her head with a pale face. I don't know him. I've never seen him before. Pa Tianjian's face was red. He punched the wall and roared, Who is it? Who can sneak in without triggering the Tianlan Manor's formation and ignore Senior Yu's senses? And set it up in advance? At this point, Yu Hong's eyes were filled with suspicion. This is indeed strange. The mystic crystal overlord might be able to avoid the formation, but how could he avoid my senses? It must be a mole, a mystic crystal overlord who is proficient in hiding his aura. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to do it so perfectly. Tianjian was stunned. But the only mystic crystal overlord in the manor is Senior Yu. You've been with me the whole time. It can't be you. Yu Hong's eyes flashed. Vice Master, you forgot that there's another mystic crystal overlord in the manor. The one you just saved. Him? Impossible. He's not that kind of person. Tianjian shook his head without hesitation. He could give away the golden flame's forbidden wood. Why would he care about the mystic moon elixir? What a joke. Tian Rulan covered her chest and wiped off the divine blood. She asked suspiciously, Big brother, who did you save? Tianjian frowned. It's our benefactor. He was injured and fell nearby. I brought him back to treat his injuries. I wanted to hold a feast for him after the mystic moon elixir was successfully refined. Who knew there would be such a mistake? Ah, benefactor is here? Tian Rulan's face was filled with surprise. Humph, what benefactor? He's the suspect. Yu Hong interrupted her joy. Tian Rulan said righteously, Benefactor can't be the suspect. Yu Hong curled his lips. Is that so? The mystic crystal overlord is good at hiding his aura. He's also a mole. Hee, who else could it be other than him? Hearing that, Tianjian's heart skipped a beat. Indeed, when they were searching for that desert, Yu Hong hadn't discovered Su Yu even though he was close at hand. It was obvious that Su Yu was very good at hiding his aura. It could be explained that he didn't alarm the spell outside and even set up the dense fog in advance. The most irrefutable part was that Su Yu was also the mystic crystal overlord. The most suspicious thing is that your so-called benefactor didn't come earlier or later. He came when the mystic moon elixir was born. Don't you think it's too much of a coincidence? Everything pointed to Su Yu. No one could refute that. Tian Lu Dao frowned. Tianjian, you're too rash. How could you bring an outsider in at such a critical moment? You're partly responsible for the loss of the mystic moon elixir. Yu Hong let out a cold grunt. Don't say anything else. Let's meet that benefactor first. Humph. Regardless of how Tianjian and Tian Rulan tried to stop them, the two of them strode forward, rushing to the secret chamber. Su Yu's injuries had recovered by 20 to 30%. He no longer needed to use his full strength. Sensing the two aggressive auras pressing down on him, he naturally opened his eyes. Benefactor of the Tianlan Manor, I have some questions to ask you. Yu Hong did not hold back, kicking open the stone door. Su Yu's expression was calm. His arrogant demeanor angered Yu Hong. Let me ask you, where did you hide the mystic moon elixir? What's that? Su Yu asked. Haha, stop pretending. I can't help but admire your acting skills. You can still remain calm even when you're here. Tian Lu Dao looked Su Yu up and down. Young hero, the mystic moon elixir is the lifesaver of the Tianlan Manor. Please hand it over and we will still recognize you as our benefactor. Su Yu stood up. How strange. I didn't take anything from you. He could tell from their tone that they suspected Su Yu of stealing something from them. Since he was already suspected to this extent, there was no point for Su Yu to stay any longer. Moreover, the sinful Lady Palace would soon discover the dust-sand civilization, so he had to make preparations. If that's the case, please cooperate with us. Tian Lu Dao's expression darkened. Yu Hong immediately pounced forward, laughing coldly. Surrender now. If you weren't injured, I might have been afraid of you. But now. Humph. Su Yu glanced at him, then walked past him and nodded slightly at Tianjian and Tian Rulan. Thank you for your hospitality. Goodbye. Tianjian hurriedly said, Wait, that wasn't our intention. Knowing that Su Yu had misunderstood, Tian Rulan hurriedly said, Benefactor, let me explain, however, as Yu Hong pounced forward, the yin and yang energy around Su Yu flickered, and he disappeared into thin air. Disappeared? Tian Lu Dao was shocked. Yu Hong's eyes flashed as he looked at the sky behind him. What a powerful speed divine technique! Tianjin and Tianrulan's faces darkened. They didn't believe that Su Yu was such a person. Ever since they came into contact with the ancient dream altar, they knew what kind of person Su Yu was. It was all Yu Hong's fault. Elder Yu, how could you make such a decision? Tianjin questioned. Unexpectedly, Yu Hong turned his head coldly. Shut up. Who do you think you are? How dare you question me? Tian Lu Dao hid his hands in his sleeves and stood beside Yu Hong casually. He said calmly, Nephew Tianjin, what you did was wrong. How could you disrespect Lord Yu? Kneel down and apologize. What? Tianjin couldn't think straight. Chapter 1774. Moreover, making him a young mansion master, Neil would represent the entire Tianlan mansion. Wouldn't that mean that Tianlan mansion would submit to Yu Hong? Second uncle, why are you helping outsiders? Tianrulan was as straightforward as ever. I only stand on the side of reason. Tianrulan's face darkened. Second uncle, don't forget that this is Tianlan mansion and we took you in. If you want to stand on the side of outsiders, please leave. Leave? Where are you going? Skystream Blade shrugged. Tianlan Manor is mine. Why should I leave? Eh? The Tianjin siblings finally sensed that something was wrong even though they did not know anything. Tianjin shouted, Second uncle, be careful with your words. Father's last wish was to pass the position to me, not you. Tian Lu Dao's face gradually revealed the fierceness he had been suppressing for a long time. He grinned. It was your father who stole it from me. That's your previous generation's business. Tianlan Mansion is under me and Tianlan Mansion is loyal to me. They won't change their master just because of your words, Tianjin said righteously. Hee, how naive. I really don't understand how the two of you came back alive from the ancient dream altar. Tianlan Mansion's face was filled with killing intent. The two of you are dead. I'm the only one left to be loyal to. Tianjin and Tianrulan shuddered. No wonder Tianlan Mansion suddenly returned after their father's death. He coveted the position of Tianlan Mansion's mansion master. Tianjin had long felt that something was wrong. So that's why. You've thought it through? Tianlan Mansion laughed. But what you didn't expect was that I was the one who instigated those three forces to swallow up Tianlan Mansion. What? Tianlan Mansion rushed back to help Tianlan Mansion because he wanted to cooperate with the enemy? Thinking of this, the siblings felt a chill down their spine. What was even colder was yet to come. Senior Yu, so you were also bribed by him? Aren't you afraid of Emperor Ku Xian punishing you? Tianjin asked. He was ordered by Emperor Ku Xian to come and protect Tianlan Mansion. Wouldn't the Emperor be angry if he did something that went against the Emperor's wishes? Yu Hong laughed mockingly. I'll report to Sovereign Ku Xian. You were all killed by that old friend who just escaped. Sovereign, what can you do to me? Don't tell me that I will punish me for two insignificant ants like you? Tianjin gritted his teeth and suppressed the rage in his heart. Senior Yu, we can give you whatever the Skystream saber gave you. Haha, you won't be able to give it to me. Yu Hong laughed. What I want is for Tianlan Manor to obey my orders from now on, and your second uncle is obviously more sensible than you two siblings. The two siblings' hearts thumped as if they'd fallen into an icy hole, and their hearts were as cold as it could be. Yu Hong couldn't even take a step forward. His powerful aura made it hard for the siblings to breathe, let alone resist. Originally, I wanted to kill you and your sister in the mist, but you had an old friend of the mystic crystal overlord, which was more or less troublesome. So, I drove him away with a little trick and framed him for your death. In this way, it would be more justifiable. What? The ones who snatched the mystic moon pill were also them? The siblings came to a realization. What foreign enemies? It was clearly Yu Hong and the Skystream Saber's self-directed act. Yu Hong's palms touched each other and pretended to be an attack from the outside. That was why his palms were red. And the one who injured Tian Rulan was the Skystream Saber. What a well-planned show. Tian Rulan and Tian Jian's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. They were being played like monkeys. I'll kill you! Tian Rulan screeched and pounced forward to fight. Yu Hong's lips curled up. He flicked his pinky, and a large amount of god power turned into a javelin that pierced towards her chest. How could a silver overlord block an attack from a mystic crystal overlord? Just as he was about to be killed, a jet-black sword energy swept over from the sky. The javelin formed from Yu Hong's god power was instantly shattered. At the same time, the sword energy's momentum didn't decrease as it headed straight for Yu Hong. Facing this sudden attack, Yu Hong hurriedly took out his weapon to defend. But that sword energy was terrifyingly strong, and the weapon flew out of his hand. Which senior is it? I am the last disciple of Emperor Ku Exin. Please have mercy on me. Yu Hong was horrified. In the instant that they exchanged blows, he knew that he had met a powerful fighter who was far above him. Only a half-heaven and earth divine warrior could possess such an irresistible force. I'm not considered a senior. I'm just an old friend of the Tianlan Manor. An ethereal voice reverberated from the sky. Old friend? What old friend? Would the Tianlan Manor have such a high and mighty old friend like a half-heaven and earth divine warrior? Yu Hong's mind was filled with thoughts. It wasn't until the fierce sword energy split him into two and even his divine soul was destroyed that he saw the so-called old friend of the Tianlan Manor before he closed his eyes. A handsome young man with flowing silver hair and a crown floated down, holding a blood sword in his hand. Yu Hong's eyes that were about to close were wide open. He died with a grievance. How could it be him, an injured mystic crystal overlord? Filled with doubt, Yu Hong's life force was extinguished. A crisp sound rang out from his chest, and several pieces of broken jade slid out. That was the life token. His death must have been transmitted to another life token. Tian Jian and Tian Rulan felt like they were in a dream. They looked at Su Yu, who had suddenly returned and killed the mystic crystal overlord with a single strike. Especially Yu Hong's terrified pleading before he died, it was impossible to forget. Someone as strong as Yu Hong couldn't even defeat a severely injured Su Yu. No, to be precise, he couldn't even block a single strike from Su Yu. How terrifying was Su Yu at his peak? What level had he risen to in 2 years? A peak overlord, or a half-heaven and earth divine warrior? Su Yu landed and smiled at the two of them. Without turning his head, he said, "Take another step and you die." Only then did the brother and sister realize that Tian Lu Dao had sneaked out of the Great Hall and was about to escape. After being warned by Su Yu, Tian Lu Dao maintained his stance, not daring to move an inch. After witnessing Su Yu's terrifying swordsmanship, how could he dare say a word of defiance? "I'll leave this to you," Su Yu said to the brother and sister. After all, he was from the Tianlan Manor. It would be better to let the Tianjian siblings deal with him. Tian Rulan's eyes were filled with hatred. Traitorous and colluding with the enemy. Of course I'll kill him with a single strike to eliminate any future troubles. Swish, she drew her sword, about to end Tian Lu Dao's life. "Sister, wait!" Tian Jian stopped her. "Why are you stopping me? This kind of heartless and unscrupulous thing, kill them all." Tian Rulan was indignant. Tian Jian said calmly, "Of course we can't let him go. But we have to investigate which Oasis Force's second uncle has befriended, right? Even if the Tianlan Manor seeks revenge in the future, we'll have a list of targets." Tian Rulan felt that his words made sense. "Humph, I'll spare your worthless life. But..." Then, a hint of viciousness flashed in her eyes. "You can be spared, but you can't escape death." Creak. A cold sword energy flashed past, piercing Tian Lu Dao's abdomen, intending to destroy his internal organs and destroy his cultivation base. Clang, unexpectedly, the sword energy was blocked by Tian Lu Dao's powerful divine strength when it struck his abdomen. Even if he didn't retaliate, It wouldn't be easy for the Silver Overlord to hurt the Gold Overlord. You dare to resist? Tian Rulan's face was flushed with anger. She glanced at Su Yu from the corner of her eye, as if she had been humiliated. Su Yu flicked his wrist and drew a sword flower. A black sword energy pierced forward, easily piercing through Tian Lu Dao's internal organs. Tian Lu Dao's face was pale as he clutched his abdomen in pain. The divine strength in his internal organs was overflowing uncontrollably. Guards, suppress him and keep a close watch. Tian Rulan bellowed angrily. She wished she could stomp on him a few times. How could he embarrass her in front of Su Yu? How hateful! Su Yu laughed. He sucked Yu Hong's corpse over to him. With a simple search, he found Yu Hong's storage space that he carried with him. He tossed it to the siblings. See if the lost item is still inside. The siblings opened it immediately and easily found the bronze box that had been stolen. Tian Rulan held the bronze box and felt relieved. She said joyfully, "Thank you, benefactor, thank you." Tian Jian was extremely grateful as well. He said, "We are ashamed. Benefactor saved us again, and we even caused you to suffer such a great injustice. But that was not our intention. We believe that benefactor is not that kind of person. We did not lie." Waving his hand, Su Yu said, "It is precisely because I know that I came back." He had been wrongly accused, and it was by two strong men whose cultivation was far superior to the Tianjian siblings. How profound was Su Yu's calculation! He could see through this little trick with a glance. Hence, he pretended to leave, but was actually observing in secret. Only when he had confirmed it did he take swift measures. Hearing this, the Tianjian siblings heaved a sigh of relief. "Benefactor, you are so righteous. It is a great honor for the Tianlan Manor to know you." Tianjian exclaimed in his heart. Meeting Su Yu was indeed a blessing that they could not obtain even in a few lifetimes. As he spoke, Tianjian returned the storage space. Su Yu said, "I have given it to you. Take it. There should be many good things in the storage space of the glazed crystal overlord." For Su Yu, the storage space was useless, but it would be of great benefit to the siblings. "Ah? How can I accept this?" Tianjian hurriedly refused, his expression turning serious. "Moreover, this thief's master is Emperor Ku Exin. How would we dare to take his things? If Emperor Ku Exin were to question us, it would be a disaster. Benefactor, you have killed Yu Hong, and you have caused great trouble. Please hide quickly," Tian Rulan said. Tian Rulan said, "Although our Tianlan Manor isn't some worldly spiritual manor, we have an extraordinary treasure that can isolate us from the outside world. Even a sovereign might not be able to do so. Big Brother Su can temporarily hide in there." An emperor of heaven and earth? If it was an emperor of heaven and earth, even if Su Yu could not kill him, he would not be afraid. "Just take it. Emperor Ku Exin is there, and I will explain the situation," Su Yu said. Tian Rulan was not frightened by Su Yu's tone. Which emperor of heaven and earth would be so easy to talk to? Especially after killing his disciple, and then explaining the situation to him? His nonchalant tone really gave them a fright. "Big Brother Su, it's better to have one less thing to worry about. Hurry up and hide, we'll explain everything," Tian Rulan urged. Chapter 1775. Even though they were slightly familiar with Emperor Ku Exin, they still felt uneasy. Killing Yu Hong was a huge problem. They hoped that Emperor Ku Exin would be understanding and not make things difficult for the Tianlan Manor after hearing the truth. The siblings exchanged glances, preparing to say something. But Su Yu calmly said, "There's no need. He's already here." Su Yu glanced at the broken pieces of the life tablet in Yu Hong's arms, then looked up at the horizon. The Tianjian siblings could not sense it, but he could sense a powerful aura rapidly approaching. It must be Emperor Ku Exin, who had sensed his disciple Yu Hong's death. "What? He's here?" The Tianjian siblings' hearts skipped a beat. In their panic, they could not think of an excuse. Whoosh, a series of flames flickered in and out of the horizon, accompanied by a deafening sonic boom. That was some kind of extremely tyrannical creature rushing over at high speed. The siblings panicked even more as they watched the flames rush towards the Tianlan manor. Who killed my beloved disciple? Boom! The fireball crashed down with explosive force, creating a high-temperature shockwave that instantly destroyed half of the Tianlan manor. Hundreds of people from the clan were vaporized by the impact. Only then did the earth-shattering roar resound. The Tianjian siblings fainted. It was over. With Emperor Ku Xian's rage, there was no way he would listen to any explanation. A sense of foreboding, as if a great disaster was about to befall them, tightly lingered in their hearts. Tian Rulan's heart was in her throat. She mustered up her courage and said in a trembling voice, "Elder Ku Xian, this is what happened." Elder Yu, however, before she could finish her sentence, Su Yu calmly said, "I killed your disciple, and the reason was that I didn't like him. Let's drop this matter here, and you can go back to where you came from. We don't need to damage our relationship because of a small ant." Tian Rulan was dumbfounded, and so was Tianjian. Who was he talking to? The divine emperor of heaven and earth. Did he not want to die fast enough? Even Emperor Ku Xian, who had rushed over angrily, was stunned. Then, he stared at Su Yu ferociously as if he was staring at an ignorant fool. He said in an eerie voice, "I don't care who you are or what abilities you have. Since you killed my disciple, I will make you beg for death." Su Yu sheathed the Shura sword and took out the royal scepter dragon sword. "Fine," he said calmly. "I never expected to convince you with words anyway. Little Kylan," Su Yu shouted as he waved his sword. The dragon-shaped sword energy pierced through the sky. The terrifying aura that was comparable to that of a divine warrior of heaven and earth scared Sovereign Ku Xian, and he hurriedly resisted. But just as he made his move, a pink mist flashed before his eyes, and a pink little Qilin exuding the power of desolation swung its hoof at his face. The seemingly soft strike caused Sovereign Ku Xian's body to sway and blood to flow from his 7 orifices. His whole body was sent flying like a stone. That terrifying sword was unstoppable as it slashed into his chest. Rumble! Emperor Ku Xian's body was sliced open, leaving a hideous gash in his body. Large amounts of his emperor's blood splattered everywhere, forming lush spiritual veins nearby. After smashing through countless ancient trees, he finally fell into the dust and sand. The Tianjian siblings, who were watching from the side, were petrified. They did not even blink and forgot to breathe as they stared at the unbelievable scene before them. A dignified divine warrior of heaven and earth had been injured by a single blow. First, it was Su Yu's earth-shattering sword, and now, it was the unexpected little Qilin. They were shocked beyond belief. Cough, cough, Sovereign Ku Xian crawled out of the dust and sand, his eyes filled with shock. He stared at the little Qilin and the royal scepter dragon sword in Su Yu's hands. Su Yu actually had a spiritual pet of a divine warrior of heaven and earth? And an extremely terrifying royal scepter dragon sword. "Continue," Su Yu said calmly as he prepared to swing his sword again. The little Qilin was also playing with its hoof, ready to rush forward and hit him again. "Wait! Stop! Stop!" Sovereign Ku Xian said hurriedly. His anger had dissipated. Instead, he cupped his hands at them and smiled apologetically. "It's just a misunderstanding. Since we are fellow cultivators, why get angry over such a trivial matter? No divine warrior of heaven and earth would be willing to fight to the death with someone of the same cultivation level. What about your disciple?" Su Yu asked. Hearing that, Sovereign Ku Xian said, "Can you give me an explanation? After all, he is my disciple. If he dies just like that, I will have to give an explanation to the outside world." Tian Rulan's heart skipped a beat. She immediately explained, "This is what happened." She told him everything in detail. "If you don't believe me, We left Tian Lu Dao alive so that you can search his soul. Sovereign Ku Xian waved his hands and said in a friendly manner, I trust Miss Tian's character. I never thought that I would take in such an evil disciple. Heaving a deep sigh, he said, by killing him, you have done me a favor. Cupping his fists, Sovereign Ku Xian said, since this is just a misunderstanding, I will take my leave now. Now that they had found a way out, they had to leave immediately. Were they going to wait for the rest of the divine warriors of heaven and earth to come and watch? Wait, you are leaving just like that? What about the damage you have caused to the Tianlan Manor? Su Yu pointed at the ruins beneath his feet. Sovereign Ku Xian suppressed his anger. Su Yu had killed his disciple, and now he was asking for an apology? How could he bully someone like that? Tian Rulan tugged at Su Yu's sleeves carefully and said in a low voice, Benefactor, forget it. This is already good enough. Su Yu ignored her and said, since I am an old friend of the Tianlan Manor, I will naturally seek justice for them. Why? Is Sovereign Ku Xian planning to go back on his word? As he spoke, he raised the royal dragon sword. The little Kylin also rubbed its palms together, looking as if it wanted to continue. Sovereign Ku Xian's eyelids twitched. He hurriedly took out a transparent bottle of medicine. It was filled with colorful elixirs. It was the Mystic Moon Elixir. Miss Tian, this is a little compensation. I hope you will accept it. Sovereign Ku Xian handed it over, his face full of apology. Tian Rulan was overwhelmed by the favor. She remembered clearly how Sovereign Ku Xian had treated her and her brother like ants when they had offered up the golden flames forbidden wood. They could not stand the way he treated them now, as if they were friends on equal terms. Thank you, Sovereign Ku Xian. Tian Rulan was about to kneel down to thank him. Su Yu glared at Sovereign Ku Xian. He shivered and immediately helped her up. He said kindly, don't mention it. I was in the wrong first. This bottle of elixirs is compensation. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come and look for me anytime. Tian Rulan's body felt light as if her soul had left her body. Today's experience was too magical. All right, I will take my leave now. Sensing the aura of several divine warriors of heaven and earth approaching, Sovereign Ku Xian left hurriedly. Tian Rulan, who had finally regained her senses, looked at Su Yu with gratitude and admiration. She murmured, Benefactor, how can I repay you? Benefactor? Sovereign Ku Xian, who had not gone far, had a flash of greed in his eyes. Benefactor? Was he the one who had given them the golden flames forbidden wood? He walked away quietly, pretending not to have heard anything. Su Yu said, It was nothing. Don't worry about it. What is the treasure you were talking about just now? Can I have a look? Su Yu asked. Does my benefactor want this item to repay me? But Tian Rulan and Tian Jian were not reluctant. Compared to what Su Yu had given them, a mere treasure was nothing. Come with us. Tian Rulan led Su Yu back to the Tianlan Manor. They went to the elixir refining room. A snow-white elixir furnace that looked like a jade artifact appeared in front of them. This is it, Tian Rulan said. This is the elixir furnace that has been passed down in the Tianlan Manor. It has an extraordinary effect on isolating auras. Su Yu looked at it and found it strange. Even if an emperor-based saint artifact was placed in front of him, Su Yu would be able to tell its grade at a glance. But this jade artifact was the only thing he could not tell. The little Qilin widened its purple eyes and circled around the jade artifact curiously. It clicked its tongue and said, A failed Dao artifact. The ancestors of your Tianlan Manor are quite lucky to be able to pick up such a treasure. A failed doctrine artifact? Su Yu was shocked. Didn't that mean it was a peerless treasure? The little Kylin had the same thought as Su Yu. It said, A failed item and a finished product are two different things. A failed item can be said to be worthless. Be it its function or its crafting attribute, it is worthless. It is even worse than an ordinary imperial divine weapon. No wonder. If a failed doctrine artifact was valuable, the tiny Tianlan Manor would not have been able to preserve it for so long. The aura isolation of this item is indeed exquisite. Su Yu examined it. Although it was a failed doctrine artifact, because of the attribute of the material, it was able to isolate auras extremely well. Even the young master might not be able to see through the elixir furnace, let alone ordinary emperors. Unless the young master opened the elixir furnace himself, he would not be able to detect Su Yu with just a glance. Could the young master examine it so carefully? Even if they had many emperors, it would still take them hundreds of years to turn the dust-sand civilization upside down. I was rescued from a hopeless situation. Su Yu sighed as he looked up at the sky. The heavens have not forsaken me. He had not intended to help the Tianlan Manor, but he had obtained a chance to escape from a hopeless situation. Su Yu, who did not believe in fate, suddenly had a feeling that everything was predetermined. Brother Su, you are too serious. If you like it, you can take it. We don't make elixirs often anyway, Tian Rulan said readily. Su Yu said, I am not asking for it. I just want to borrow it to avoid being hunted down. Hunted down? Tian Jian recalled Su Yu's situation when he fell into the dust-sand civilization. He asked in surprise, Who can hunt you down? With the strength that Su Yu had displayed, could there be a heaven and earth divine warrior hunting him down? A powerful enemy that you cannot imagine, Su Yu said solemnly. Su Yu said solemnly as he sized up the two of them. He then said, To avoid bringing unnecessary trouble to you, I need to remove your memories of me. With Su Yu's current soul attainments, it was a piece of cake for him. Tian Jian and his sister said without hesitation, As long as you don't expose us, Brother Su, we are willing. Removing one's soul was quite dangerous, but they agreed readily. It showed how much trust they had in Su Yu. Great! Su Yu's eyes shot out two gloomy white lights. The siblings felt a sharp pain in their souls, and they passed out on the spot.